shirt.
I think it's pretty tight when they're on the sleeves.
These pants are my younger sister's ones. She outgrew.
Your younger sister outgrew the pants before you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a ton of jeans this Christmas. It was awesome. For free.
It's like people in different sizes or something. I don't know why I was shocked by that.
It's streaming now, so
Cool.
just so you know, your pants are all recorded.
Oh, nice.
Please don't share. I'm not trying
Okay.
to look it.
Are you gonna tell them what we're looking at?
Yeah, right now we're looking at a bone I found in front of a pond.
What pond?
The one in front of the engineering building.
The pond?
The koi pond.
That one, the pond.
It's the only pond
The
we
koi
have.
pond.
Yeah, the koi pond.
Well, we have ephemeral ponds that show up when it rains and the sewers back
Oh.
up.
We have a
Not
drainage.
those.
I feel like that pond that's out over yonder that has all the disease and the dead animals in it. I feel like that was. I feel like that's fairly permanent at this point.
I haven't seen that one yet.
The one that's by the. Oh God, the
I forgot which one's which.
Success Center? No. Job.
It's not really, it's just like a backed up sewer though.
I really thought it was like they turned it into a pond.
Well, they made it look like a pond occasionally.
Only occasional.
Yeah, like when it backs up, then it looks like a pond a little bit.
I just remember seeing a dead bird in it once, and I thought, yeah, that's it. And then I walked away.
Did you get some of it on you?
The dead bird,
Yeah.
a little bit.
It smells like it.
Half wing. Whoa.
You're doing great.
Eleanor, what are we looking at?
I know I haven't done this in a long time, so.
You're doing great.
There we go.
Here's what I want you to do though.
Yes.
Click on beam intensity over here. The word beam intensity.
I'm looking. There it is.
And then in the little box at the top where it says 10,
Mm-hmm.
make it 7.
Okay.
And when you're scanning around and stuff, you can make it back to 10. Just hit enter or OK, either one. So it just increases the resolution a little bit.
Okay.
And then we might want to make an adjustment to the brightness and contrast. So set the speed to something kind of good.
Like 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
There we go.
And then the little sun and moon
Mm-hmm.
auto. Yep,
Auto brightness.
that's it. It's like writing a scientific instrument.
Okay.
Let's see.
What'd you say?
I mean a bike.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's
Eleanor,
that?
what body did this bone come from?
We're unsure. We just picked it up.
Did you break it in order to put it on the stub?
Yep,
With your bare hands?
No, with my shoe.
She tried to break with her bare hands.
With those shoes?
Not with these shoes. With my other heeled boots.
You stomped on bones and crushed them with shoes.
Literally right
This
there.
is
There's
like-
bone fragment on the ground.
You left some of the bone fragments on
I
the ground
tried
in
to
here?
I tried to pick it up as best as I could.
This
Yeah.
is like it sounds like the premise for a country music song. You know?
Dug my heel
She broke
into
my
the bone
bones
of
on her heels.
Here we go. What is that?
She was, we were sitting there and she tried to break with her hand, she couldn't do it. She's like, can I use those scissors? I'm like, scissors gonna do the bone? And then she did it with her heel, so.
I'm surprised she couldn't break it with her bare hands.
And she's very strong. I was a little shocked too. Eleanor, have you been okay lately?
I haven't been sleeping, but
Yeah, that's good.
woo!
What have you been doing instead?
Is this Eleanor's
Or don't we want to know?
therapy session?
Studying.
Studying?
Yeah, I finished my lab last night at like 12:30, so at least I don't have to worry about it now.
Oh
That's
my
pretty
God.
great.
Mandalore says, this is amazing. And Mika, hey Mika, says, Ellie Sore is back.
Hey!
We are currently looking at some
Let's
bones
see.
that Ellie crushed under her heels,
Yep.
like she does the hearts of young men.
I was hoping we could see like bacteria or something, but
Well, you got it and it was bleached and it's cold outside, so
yeah.
not much for bacteria to feast on. If you zoomed in a little bit more, closer
Yeah.
to where the marrow would have been.
I think this is actually just the porous structure of the bone itself. So, normally when you pick up a bone that you found, I'm guessing you do that all the time out in the wild.
She's actually a vulture.
You need some decorations for your hair or something to throw in a
Do the
potion.
necklace.
We could tape one onto Mallory's sweater.
Oh, it would look good on her
Hey,
sweater.
guys, check out my sweater. Wait, first of all, Mika says hello, Stone. Hello, Malgal. He said Stone in all caps, not sure why. Andalore said Diatom's attack, and with the dad joke. And then Little Chew said hello. Hello,
Little Chook is here. Are you going to give shout outs to people, or are
Yes.
you neglecting those responsibilities?
First of all, I am. Oh, why is it all caps? I'm doing that, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing it.
It's not clear that you're
I'm
doing it.
I'm doing it.
It's pretty dark.
How do we make it brighter?
Well, the sun and the moon button
Again.
is how you do it, and it will adjust to your current field of view. See?
I don't even know if it's visible.
Is it? It's like magic, but it's science.
Yeah. I thought
Rihanna,
bones were gonna be way cooler.
You're literally next door. Rihanna.
Kinda let
You can
down.
come here.
Rihanna's here.
She said yo in the chat
How do you know she's next door?
because
Maybe she's sending us messages from Dairy Queen.
She lives in a dorm, doesn't she?
yeah, Rihanna, come in and do schoolwork on a Saturday. Do it.
Tell her I found. Oh, she can hear me.
Hey,
Never
tell
mind.
her.
I found a piece of a giant
There we
Gomphomonster.
go. That looks very
It's
cool.
actually Gomphanese, though. It's not the one we're looking for.
How big is it? Please.
It was half of a diatom, and it was about 80 microns.
Wow.
So it was a big diatom.
What's the biggest one that I've seen? About
What am I? Your eye register or your memory system? How do
Yeah.
I know? Anyways, I prepped some of them, so we may be looking for the monster of Idaho, the Gomphomonster of Idaho.
Brianna wants to know where you found it and did you make samples? Which, first of all, you can't make the samples. You had to collect the samples.
I really wish you were closer to the microphone so she could hear you say that stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she deserves to hear that.
Oh. First of all,
Oh my god.
you can't make samples. You collect samples.
What is this?
You make slides and stuff.
I think it's just bone.
I don't know that yelling it like that's.
Well, they heard it. They reacted.
Okay.
Oh, did they?
Just gonna laugh at
Can we
it.
go to the next slide?
This is exciting.
You're tired of the bones already?
It's very boring. I thought it would be super interesting.
This is interesting. Look at that. That's your little bloody stuff was in there.
You didn't even take any pictures yet.
Get real close.
You're welcome to do whatever you like. You're in charge of the stream.
Okay.
Dr.
When
Stone.
they kick you off of the machine, then I'll make decisions.
Hey. Mama Bon Bon. Hello. And Pacific Plankton.
You can see where you fragmented it up there at the top, though.
Really?
Fracture.
Here?
Yeah.
Mom.
Haha.
Aha!
That's not the one I wanted to hit.
Just, yeah, double click. What you should do is look for faces in the bones. You know, like imaginary faces. Like that looks like a frowny face right there.
And can I do the brightness thing?
Yeah, you can do whatever you like.
Charlotte said, well, seems like Doc got another evolution. Yeah, this is actually, what is this, 13th Doc? This is the 13th Doctor.
Yeah, it's like Doctor Who, I die, and then I come back as Eleanor.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Rihanna wants to
Upgrade.
know if it was on one of the slides that she made.
Yes, but it wasn't the right diatom.
Mm,
It was Gomphanese, not Gomphanema.
Eleanor.
But then I made some SEM stubs from that sample.
How close
They're-
can you go?
They're right here. Do you see it in there, Rihanna?
Okay.
How close can you go?
Yes, I think they.
They want to
wanna
get
zoom in
closer?
closer?
Okay.
Something like that. I think assuming they want to see some detail. Charlotte, good to see you.
We're looking at the bone of some wild animal, the remains of which were found in front of a pond on campus.
I'm guessing it's gonna be like a bunny.
A
would be the
bunny?
bone. That's my best guess.
Do you think maybe a
You
hawk
think-
got it?
I've seen like dogs eat them on campus. It's just gross.
You've seen dogs eat bunnies
Yes.
on campus?
Wait, you have? Are you
Yes.
kidding me?
I was in my dorm. I was looking out the window, and there's just this dog like eating this bunny. It was terrifying.
Are you kidding
And
me?
you're only telling me about it now?
It was terrifying.
You didn't take a video? I'm like,
No, I was like banging on the door, like the window. I'm on the window banging, and I'm like, stop!
dog's like,
And then everybody's looking at me weird, like from the sidewalk, and I was like, well,
They're used to watching dogs eat
I-
rabbits.
apparently.
I've never even heard of a dog being on campus that wasn't like on a leash.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a problem.
You think there's dogs that run around here a lot? This is news to me.
How
like
can I
how
make
it looks
this-
sort of hairy when you get kind of close
Yeah.
to it.
can I get closer?
Okay, there's a lot to say, okay? Charlotte said, by far that is one of the coolest names I've ever heard. Eleanor is pretty cool.
Oh, thank you.
Little Chook said a bunny bone.
Now it's out of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maddie
maybe.
Akil said face and voice don't match. Yeah,
Sure they do.
we.
Yeah, how do I
Eleanor
fix
actually
this?
has two voice boxes. One of them she keeps on the side, so.
You're making it worse.
I know, how do I fix this?
Turn the wheel at the bottom,
Okay.
the other way,
Yeah.
until stuff starts coming into focus.
There we go.
I'm gonna shout out, I'm new here.
Now you've gone too far, and you're going
Okay.
out of focus again. Getting
Bullseye.
closer.
Right there.
Whoa!
It's not bad. It's better.
Is that it?
Okay.
Zoom out a little. It might help you focus. You're in super close.
I'm too close.
Yeah.
Blue
See
Dot
the sort of
says
getting sort of bands going across it? It's because
Mhm.
there's some higher areas adjacent to it, like you're looking into a hole basically,
Okay.
and they're causing the SEM to create like a little distortion at the top. So I would say either move up a little or down a little in your field of view so that that band isn't showing. See, now the hole is gone and the stripes are missing. It's still a little out of focus though.
Yeah.
There you go. Now it's better.
Charlotte said that Eleanor and I look like twins.
Yeah, we do look similar.
I think with the masks on, maybe.
Yeah.
With the masks off, I don't think so.
I know, I have huge cheeks. It's terrible.
You have the most enormous cheeks I've ever seen. Do you want to have a fight about this on stream? We will. I will throw down.
What we should do is showcase both of your hands and then
Yeah.
see if you still look similar.
It's true.
Tiny
Yeah, let's
hands.
compare our hands. Hold on.
Also, can you put a trigger warning out there for people if you're going to show them your hands?
Yeah, guys, be prepared, okay? It's a little nerve-wracking.
How do I make
have
this
like
more
giant
focused?
fingers. I should have played piano.
I thought you did play the piano.
I
Okay.
did, not well.
So we're comparing hands.
Yeah.
Oh, there, that's
Yeah.
how you know they're different.
Her hands are a little bit bigger than mine.
And
Again,
also,
hands.
they look like they're about 80 years older than yours.
I do have a lot of lines on my hands, which is interesting.
Is it because you
You
moisturize?
think you think you can hurt me with this? I know my body.
Why do you assume I'm trying to hurt you?
Okay.
Is calling my having 80-year-old hands a compliment?
It could be.
Depends on what circle you're in.
Yeah, it's not helping much.
It's still out of focus. a
I
little bit.
know.
Do you want
Now
some
have
help?
extra
Yes.
finger meat.
Here's what I would do. Go here and then double click, make that box just a little bit bigger, and then try to get that part in focus.
Okay.
It's good. I went a little over, but it's close enough. And then we can let the whole thing be in focus. I'd say actually go zoom out a little bit more so we can kind of get this without getting the bands in it, but still get that texture that's up here. And see, we were looking right into a hole. bone hole. So let's go ahead and we'll lower the speed so we can take a picture. You happy with our
Whoever
composition?
bought this hand sanitizer should be put in prison. This is the most, I've never like been moisturized by a hand sanitizer before, but it takes me off guard every time, and now my hands are sticky.
Well, Maddie wants to know what is the Idaho Gomphomonster. We're looking for, later we'll look for, I think, a diatom that my friend Anna found in some samples, and then she sent us some of the material, but it's pretty rare, and the diatom is enormous for a diatom, and so we're gonna go hunting for it. I don't know that it's actually in the samples that we've we've prepared, so it'll be a bit of a hunt, but that's our. Later in the stream, we're going to aim to do that. For now, we're just looking at whatever it is that Eleanor wants to look at. And once this bone picture finishes, then we'll probably move to the next slide, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that will be. This is a bit of a mystery. You're going to go to sleep by that time. Okay, well, it'll be around. Don't worry. My videos on demand stick around for a full 2 months, so. I don't know that we've ever had Anna. We've had her here on voice. I don't know if we've seen her. She's a guest. She's not here in the lab.
Anna and I are Facebook friends. You can pretty much say we're best friends.
Because you're friends on Facebook?
Yeah.
I bet you don't even really use Facebook,
I
or is that
don't.
just what you say to me because we're Facebook
I
friends?
don't actually use Facebook, but that one time that you posted the cats, that was, I got a notification for that because I was tagged in it, and I was like, yeah. I want to delete every social media I have so that I can turn it back on and have like 1,000 notifications, and then I'll feel really fulfilled. But if I re-download them, there's no notifications. Maybe that'd be like 25 worth. Anyway, I'll take a drink.
I need to go get a drink. Maybe once you get the next sample on, I'll jump over to the other side of the building and get something to drink.
Why do you go to the other side of the building?
I just want to get away, you know? I don't want to sail away, I just want to get away. Oh, this is probably done. It's close.
Would Anna share the same sentiment? I think yes. So.
Okay.
It's not visible, but up here we can put, I don't know, bone? Whatever you like.
Yeah, bone's good.
And then let's dump this into, usually I put this in this butterfly blue jay thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can make a new folder. Call it Ellie stuff. And then you can name it whatever you like in here.
Okay. I'm just gonna call it bone.
Okay.
I don't know what else to describe it as.
Close
Sweet.
that. So there's a little thing it's hiding under the top. You're gonna need some help. Hang on. Yeah. It's still hiding.
Okay, how do I get it
Keep
to
making it
unhide?
smaller. And then drag it down. You gotta grab it by the top. That's the hard part.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right
There we go, and then I just exit out.
Yeah, close it.
Sweet. And then I can hit slide 2.
Yeah. You might want to change the speed so people can see what's
Yeah.
growing in the new field of view.
Okay. Well,
We're too close. It looks super distorted like that. Do you know what this is?
this is the unknown bug skeleton thing we found.
You found a skeleton, a carapace of an insect?
Yes. It was on Mallory's window in the lab on the outside.
Oh, it was probably trying to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead pixel.
It probably smelled flowers.
Probably smelled flowers.
Yeah. Unless it's like a one of those corpse beetles.
Probably that. It like
Could be.
smelled like my decomposing brain, and it was like
This is
dinner
as far as it
time.
goes.
So you probably want to zoom. Are you zoomed all the way out?
Yes. Yeah.
So let's do this. Hang on. So we can get a better sense of what it is. We can actually lower the stage so you can see more of it at once.
Nice. Now this is interesting. I think this is better than the bone.
Where's the bug parts? Is this just like crushed carapace?
Yep.
Can we see any legs or anything?
No.
If we zoom around, is it going to show us something more?
To be 100% clear, we didn't actually know if it was a bug or not.
I'm pretty sure it's a bug.
You're pretty sure?
Yeah. I'm not an expert or anything,
What if
but
it's like poop?
You're not a bug expert?
What if it's
No.
an owl pellet?
What if it's poop? Somebody's pooping on your window?
I said owl pellet. I read.
I'm not sure what that is. But you can take control and zoom into areas as you like. It could be the skeleton or the carapace of a bug.
Mama Bon Bon suggested to drink chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk?
Yeah, and Shylock is sharing information about a missed opportunity for marriage.
what?
Them?
Huh?
With a missed opportunity for them to marry somebody?
Well, they said that a girl in college had a crush on me because I had long fingers, which I guess is supportive of my condition. And
Is it a condition?
You could say that. I guess anything about yourself is a condition.
Usually people refer to things that are like wrong with them as a condition.
Rather be anything.
Look at it's got like hexagon looking
and he
things.
said, another fun fact, that girl asked me to marry her and I said no.
Oh.
And I said, missed opportunity.
Oh, I see.
Just sharing with
He
her.
doesn't think it's a missed opportunity. You do.
Hmm?
He didn't think it was a missed opportunity. You think it's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. And that's a free marriage proposal right there.
Are you looking for one of those?
I think that's the opposite of what I would be looking for at any point in my life. Cheers, though.
You would just like some cats and to be by yourself.
I don't even want the cats.
Really?
I need my plants. You know what?
I think this is my
Spanish
hair,
ivy-
maybe.
What'd you say?
That's too thin to be your hair.
It's too thin to be my hair.
Yeah.
You calling her hair fat?
On an SEM, yes. You all have fat hair. Rather, we all have fat hair in SEM.
That pixel says, wow, this zooms out pretty far. It really,
It's about as far out as we can go. I suppose I could lower the stage even more, but I don't know that it would help.
my Spanish ivy was acting up this morning. Kind of offensive.
Your what?
Spanish ivy.
It's one of her plants.
It was acting up?
It was acting up. It was perfectly
Was
fine.
it calling you names? Or
No.
wouldn't it go to its room when you told it to?
No.
Or
It was perfectly fine last night, and I woke up this morning, and it's all crinkly. Like it's all.
oh, like
I
somebody
forget
forgot
the
to
word.
water it.
First of all, I didn't forget to water it. I just didn't.
Somebody
So-
failed to water it.
And then I gave it water and put it in the sun today, so hopefully it'll be better by the time I get back.
That does look
Charlotte,
kinda
how
cool.
many marriage proposals can one person
Can we
get?
take a picture of this one?
You can do whatever you'd like with the photos.
Okay.
So what I'd recommend is change the speed
Yeah.
somewhere in the 6, 7, 8 range.
We'll do 7. So
Yeah.
that goes.
And then auto brightness and contrast.
Boop. Kind of looks like a morel mushroom, but like if it was torn open.
Do you like morels?
I don't eat them, but I like to find them.
Have you been hunting for them before?
Mhm.
Effectively?
Mhm.
Did you get rich from it?
No.
I think you can sell those for
You
a lot
can
of money.
sell them. I normally just give them away. Because I only find like 6 a season.
I'm not really a fan of mushrooms, but my wife likes them. But I've never had a morel, so.
Kirk Morningstar TMA said, Agent Scully, is that you? I guess you look like Agent Scully.
Who's Agent Scully?
Oh my god.
Really? Hold
Now
on.
how old do you feel?
Even I know that she's 2 years younger than me.
The other day you were like, when
Hey,
I was your
You
age.
kids get off my lawn!
You know,
What's
she's
this
kinda-
X-Files crap you're talking about?
If she had like, if her hair was like more like the
Red?
well, red and like the big, you know,
Shorter?
luminous style. Okay, yes, that too. I could see it, to be honest. Yeah,
Can you pull up the picture?
yeah, that's what.
Oh, okay.
Um.
We aren't taking a picture yet, by the way.
And we're not.
We need to push the picture taking button.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Push
Okay.
the picture taking button.
Where's that?
Is this one?
This.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're taking
There we
a
go.
picture.
Sorry guys, I thought we were taking a photo.
Agent Scully is a character on the X-Files. You know what the X-Files is?
About finding aliens?
Kind of, yeah.
They're FBI agents.
Oh, okay.
They solve mysteries associated with paranormal activity.
Ah.
Sometimes it's not.
But the whole meme is that, what is it, his poster says, I want to believe, or that,
He did have a poster like that, yeah.
yeah, that's what I remember from the show. Mika didn't know it either.
Haha.
Scully was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now that's a good show. What's your favorite TV show, Eleanor?
I don't know. I don't watch TV that much. Let me think of one. I like The Good Place with Kristen Bell.
Yeah,
That's a
Mom
good
loves
one.
that.
Then I like the show on Prime. It's like called Upload. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
So good. So good.
I used to watch, you ever watch, Arrested Development?
Mm-mm.
I love that show. It's so funny. If you get the time, you should watch it. But now I started watching anime again. You ever watched anime?
I've never watched it.
Eleanor!
I don't watch
Give
TV
me
that
the
much.
time!
I know.
Oh, they're saying a bunch of stuff. Hold on. Yeah, they just said the X-Files. The truth is out there. That's the phrase. They say the truth is.
The truth is out there.
We perfected cloning and we cloned Mallory. She's the one that's on. You know, it seems like it on the stream. Eleanor is just subdued right now. She is very much different from me. Not in a bad way. No, you like made a face.
I was just like, what?
She's got a lot more drive.
No, that is not true.
I'm lucky. You're driven. That's the difference.
Oh, I have to be driven because I'm very unlucky.
She's a doctor too. She's a doctor too, and she works in night scripts. That's why she said it, because you were like on the.
Oh, okay.
What the fuck? I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Julian did English dub of Moro and Princess Mononoke. Ellie does have abs.
I do. I work very hard at them.
What the frick? This girl hasn't watched Arrested Development. She's young and Arrested Development is old. Be quiet. I just watched it because my dad watched Seinfeld a lot, and that's how my humor developed, was Larry David. And Larry David related things. Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's even better. I think you'd like that so much.
What's that about?
It's about this guy who's just, I don't know, the whole premise is that like he like just causes trouble for himself. But
paid for one drink, but 3 came out.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I was like, are you a little thirsty today?
I'm very thirsty. I'm parched.
Oh my gosh.
Also, nobody told me I was still wearing my scarf.
What's wrong with scarf? If you were warm and it didn't bother you, who am I to judge? I wear my scarf sometimes.
I just forget I have it on because it feels so warm and comfortable.
It's super warm outside today. I didn't even have to wear a winter coat.
Are we still looking at a bug carcass?
Yes, we're in the bug carcass area.
We're in it?
Well,
We're all
we're
up in the
outside
bug
of it, but
carcass?
yeah.
Do I want to pay attention to what's going on in chat? Because it seems like maybe
It's
I should
kinda
change the
useless.
category to just chatting or
We just
something.
talked about DDT.
We were talking about Larry David.
We were.
What is this?
I think it's just a piece of the wing
Okay.
of your insect.
Very cool.
Oh, bye, Charlotte.
He just
Rib-
left.
Yeah, Ribozoid.
Herbizoid is here?
I think yes. Dirty Smith is here. And Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill!
Alleged insect, yeah. Good point, Calethon.
Boom. This looks like those rocks where like the salts like evaporated out of them.
Meow,
There's
you
going to be a
thinking
quiz
those-
at the end of this sentence. I would like to know what the name of those rocks are, since you've had Geology 170.
Ugh. Don't know, but I know the picture.
Could you give me, like, the common name for them?
No. I know it's like in limestone. A lot.
Sometimes. Sometimes it's in sandstone or siltstone.
Hmm.
The name of that structure is Tafoni.
Okay.
And the type, or sometimes referred to as honeycomb weather. Because it looks like a honeycomb. What?
Yellow rocks. That's what Dirty Smith said.
Yellow? Them rocks yellow?
Did we get a follower?
Yellow. Joe Biden, thank you for following.
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden. I'm excited.
Joe
that you-
Biden?
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden? The
The
Joe Biden?
Congratulations on your inauguration. Really proud. I like your spot. She said she likes my spot. Such a good movie. Mama Bon Bon knows where it's at.
You gave a shout out to Uncle Bill.
You know what? I did. I did give a shout out to Uncle Bill.
Ta-da! I got in focus again.
Whoa, that looks cool. What is that?
This
Alleged
is still
insect.
the alleged insect. I'm gonna take a
Kinda
photo of that
suspicious.
too. That
Maybe
looks
that's
cool.
the real bone.
Actually, I'm gonna get closer.
Maybe the alleged insect was the real bone all along.
Yeah, why does this look cooler than the real bone?
Did you say Joe Biden was watching?
Joke Biden.
Like,
Joe Biden.
Their username. Will you listen to me?
I am listening.
The username is joke. Haha, joke. Biden.
Oh, Joe Biden. Are you sure it's not Joe K. Biden?
Well, unless it's Joe K.E. Biden. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Guard me up the wall.
yeah, like this.
I'm gonna start like screaming. You know at the beginning of the.
Normally I have to read your lips when you talk because, you know, the mush mouth you got going on, but like...
I slur my words a lot. I apologize. Bernie Sanders has a Twitch channel.
What?
He's also got cute little mittens. Cute little. Oh, too fast.
Do you think Bernie Sanders is watching?
Yeah, I'll keep that.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
We should have penciled him in the side of the little photograph, like inside the SEM. With the
Can you
mentions in it.
invite somebody to your stream, like on Twitch? Could you be like, hey,
I could go to his channel. We could raid him if he were around.
that's cool.
Would be fun to raid Bernie Sanders.
You want to raid Bernie Sanders?
He's probably turned raids off.
You'd be like, hey.
I
You
can't put question marks.
No,
That
question
is-
marks are not an option in
that is
file names.
Exclamation
That's
marks are.
stupid.
I don't think they are actually.
Also, slashes are not valid characters.
What
In
speed
fact,
did
most
you
of the
take that
punctuation
at?
is not.
What
What?
speed did you take that at, Eleanor?
What?
What speed was the photo taken at,
Yeah.
collected at? What speed is it currently?
3,
Did you take it at 3?
most likely.
You might want to set it to like a 6 or a 7.
Yep. And then can I hit the photo button now?
Yeah.
I'm
You
just
don't
gonna
have to
do
anything
the
else.
brightness.
You can do that, but you don't have to do anything else if
Yeah.
it's in focus and you just change that one thing. Some of the other people who sometimes use the SEM also make a similar mistake in taking the pictures at the wrong speed.
Is that Mallory?
I did not provide any names.
Oh, good thing. Now they won't know it's me.
It just looks so good. I was like, I probably don't need to change the speed.
So, you know how the coronavirus has been around for like a year?
Mm-hmm.
Like almost exactly. Well, it's been around longer, but so we started talking about it a year ago. Anyway, mittens or it didn't happen. So back when we got sent home, and I wasn't going to be working at the SURE program for the summer, I was going to take a job at Kroger and like stock during like the night, because you know that's when everyone was like grabbing up a bunch of stuff and they were hiring new people. So I applied for the job and never got it because so many people were applying for it, right? And they still send me job notifications, and I still haven't gotten a single one.
You're still trying to get a job?
No. But like your application stays in the stack, and when it's like, if they have an opening and you're considered for it, then you'll get like a notification that you got considered for the job and you're going for an interview.
But you never got considered for
No,
any
but
of
I
them?
keep getting the job notification saying there's a new job, but I just haven't gotten one in a year. That's how low I am on the totem pole.
Can you find one of the other people that applied for those jobs and maybe I could hire them in my lab instead of you? I mean, I feel like if you're more qualified to be a stock person than you are, right? That's at least part of the job
I feel
in my
like
lab.
Stocking, like stocking is like required knowledge. Like maybe they were like,
Maybe you just needed to highlight that in your CV, that you also sometimes stock the shelves in my lab when things come in.
yeah, my CV to Kroger.
Yeah, to Kroger.
Oh, sorry, isn't it Payless now? I can't say Kroger.
Wait, it's not Kroger?
One
What?
of them, it's not anymore.
Payless is a shoe company.
No, Payless is a.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well hold on now. Let me figure this out.
I was at Kroger like 2 nights ago, and I think it's still Kroger.
Payless, Kroger.
What's our next object?
We have one of those leaves that are like the weird shape.
A weird shaped leaf?
You said it the other day. It starts with a G.
Oh, you mean a ginkgo leaf?
Yes, ginkgo.
Oh, okay.
Ginkgo leaf.
Oh.
What are you giggling about? Kroger? Payless
Yeah.
shoes?
No, it's.
Did you screw something up? Did you apply for a shoe company and you thought you were applying for a grocery store?
No. No, I'll send you a text real quick.
Oh, it's not something you want to share on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I good to go to 3?
Our episode says that Kroger is doing a new logo and slogan, and they're one of their clients. Shrink46 wants to know what's under the microscope.
It's a alleged bug.
For Bonbon566, the coronavirus is a little too small to look like much in a scanning electron
Yeah.
microscope. So we get that question actually kind of a lot. If you right-click on the image, and click minimum magnification, it'll zoom way out.
There we go. And this
And then we
is
can
a
see the
ginkgo
actual-
leaf.
Is it a piece of the leaf, or is that the whole leaf?
This is a piece of it. Then there should be bird poop on here somewhere.
You put a leaf with bird poop on it? Okay.
It'd be more interesting.
The poop part is interesting to you?
It's better than a boring leaf, though.
How do you know? You can zoom in quite a lot more than you are right now. I mean, if you wanted to magnify the bird poop. And enhance the leaf structure. I still think it's out of focus.
Yeah,
It could do more focus at the moment.
more focus. Like that.
At least that. And you can probably zoom in some more. What are you singing for us, Mallory?
You ever seen VeggieTales?
Yep.
No, but my daughter has.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's definitely like religious propaganda.
Is it?
It is.
What is
But
that
it's
stuff on
so
the leaf?
good.
Is that the bird poop?
I believe so.
I think that maybe it's just like mold or something. We should zoom in.
No, it's definitely bird poop. Trust me. I know.
Mallory knows bird poop.
Ooh, look at that.
What was that noise?
Yeah, what was that noise?
They cheered. Hello _615 cheered 200 times.
Woo woo!
Hello, 615.
Oh, look
They
at
said
these.
they're a grad student in chemistry, and they do a lot of transmission electron microscopy. And they think it's awesome that we use this platform to share how cool electron microscopy can be.
Oh,
You know
nice.
what? I'm a big fan of electron microscopy, and this is my lab with my scanning electron microscope, and I'm currently sharing that enjoyment with you. Oh, it's like the picture that Mallory took of spider eggs almost. But
That
I
was
think
an
Yeah.
iconic picture. If you make it look like caviar.
yeah, zoom in a
Yeah.
little closer on those. I think that's just some sort of, well, it's either the bird poop or some kind of mold, I think, growing
My
on
mom
it.
Yeah.
says it's eggs.
It could be spider
Ooh,
eggs.
very cool. I didn't even see them on there. Look, this one's got like a hole in it.
It's probably because the spider came out of that one already.
Wow.
And check your hair.
I took a shower this morning. It's okay.
Everyone is pleased with it. They want you to eat it.
Does
Or-
kind of look like Dippin'
or
Dots because you know they're all different sizes.
We could maybe take a picture of
Is
it.
that bacteria on the bird poop?
It could be.
I
Mmm.
feel like it's
You know, the problem with having people collect random things for the lab and bring it in is that I didn't actually get to see any of them before they went into scanning electron
Well, there's a
microscope.
little bit. It was on a ginkgo leaf.
A what?
Is it ginkgo? I was 50-50. I just went for the one that sounded right. I went for the one that sounded, well, that Elton John said in that song.
It's ginkgo.
It's what?
Ginkgo.
Ginkgo?
Ginkgo.
Ginkgo? Well,
It's
that's not what Elton John
it's
said.
ginkgo Biden.
Are you messing with it? That's Ginkgo Biden. Joe Biden? Joe Biden?
Ginkgo Biden,
Jingle Biden.
not Jinko Biden.
Jingle Biden.
Taking a photo.
Like it on the phone?
Excellent.
Go Biden. G.I. Joe Biden. That's a free username for anyone out there looking. G.I. Joe Biden. It actually
Well,
cost you, but you get that.
Ribozoid, it'll be okay. We don't know what your company is, and so everything can still remain secret.
Yeah, but
Plus, probably those people aren't watching my scanning electron microscope stream on Twitch.
also, no offense, but also big offense. I'm not sure how many people on a daily basis tend to worry about partnerships with Kroger.
Well, you don't know that.
Do you worry about partnerships with Kroger?
I am constantly worried that there's going to be a partnership between me and Kroger.
You and Kroger? Did you get my text message?
I did. How strong is the zoom on our toy? Well, it's not really a toy, it's an instrument for science. But right now, the image that we're looking at has been magnified 7,000 times. So scanning electron microscopes, a normal light microscope has sort of a cap of about 1,000 times magnification. Our scanning electron microscope, if we were, you know, if Ellie wanted to really get in close and look at these thingies, whatever they are, bacteria or eggs or something, we could probably zoom into at least 100,000 times magnification. And and not have much trouble. So,
MRV Italy.
Hey.
Mr. Vitally, thank you for joining us.
Gertie Smith says you can buy a bag of diatoms for $1 a pound.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
nice.
your partnership with Kroger.
I think you can actually get them for,
It's diatomaceous earth, you can get it at Lowe's.
yeah, at Lowe's you can buy diatomaceous earth, but I don't know if you can get it for $1 a pound.
What's the better home improvement store, Lowe's or the Home Depot? Or Menards?
Mm.
Think about that 11% rebate before you answer.
I don't know. Lowe's is a little expensive. It has some higher quality things. And Menards is a lot cheaper and is 50-50 on quality things. And we don't have a Home Depot around here, so I don't know for sure. But I used to go to Home Depot when it was an option, before the other two. You can't have, you can have a question there. You can't have
Yeah.
it in the title. Yeah, the file name.
Menards can get a couch and a lawnmower at the same place. Exactly.
Yeah, and you can buy groceries at Menards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone,
Carpet.
yeah, a friend of mine did
And
not
lighting?
know that you can also get a bunch of like useless stuff, like fun lights. I have a moon lamp. It's a moon, but it's a lamp. It's like the sphere thing. You just tap it.
I have one of those.
You have one of those?
Yeah,
They
that's
are
pretty
You guys
cool.
are twins.
Exactly.
Did you get it at Menards?
No, I got it off Amazon.
Unbelievable.
Instead of spending the local dollars at your Menards, you went to Amazon?
You ruined.
My mom
you
got
ruined
it
the
for
local
me.
economy.
We are zooming way out.
Eleanor is wholly responsible for the economic stimulation of Terre Haute, Indiana.
It's possible.
Well, I would have.
You can really see the sort of structure of the leaf, the underlying leaf in the
Mhm.
background, the sort of like wavy structure. Those are like the veins and cells of the plant. Ginkgo actually really interesting plants. They're very ancient. That looks like bird poop, by the way. I think that's your actual poop right there.
Bird poo.
Zoom in on it. Let's see if it's got a bunch of little. It does.
It's
Yep.
totally got bacteria all up in it.
Yeah, I
That's
think it's some
nice.
sort of bacteria.
Great.
Hey, Eleanor, remember when you were gonna touch that with your bare hand?
I
Oh,
don't remember
you
that
recall that?
because
You
I don't do
definitely
that.
touched it with your bare hands, didn't you?
Mallory definitely did, for sure.
I don't recall.
Her hands aren't really bare hands. They're more like
Oh.
They're like hag hands, like
hag
those
hands.
wise
Yeah,
hands.
yours are more like bare hands, and hers are more like hag hands.
Are you saying she looks like a bear?
I mean, they're more
No.
paw-like than yours.
Midsummer. It's midsummer.
That's pretty
Do
cool.
you feel
Can we
held
zoom
by
in?
him? Does he do like home?
It's super pretty, which normally it doesn't look pretty.
What doesn't look pretty? Bird poop?
Yeah, normally you're like, oh, that's disgusting, but it's super pretty
I
here.
kind of love it. If you take that picture,
Take it.
I
Well,
will not
first-
be telling anyone.
First, let's
Speed.
make sure that it's focused. So zoom in really closely.
Okay.
Looks like a wave of bubbles.
It does look like bubbles.
It's like a lava lamp.
And see the one that's got like a bunch of texture on it right there?
Yeah.
Double click in that one, and then just try to get it super focused. So use the yellow box if you have to. Perfect. Well, it drifted back out after I said perfect. Go
Great.
back. There you go. Now zoom out. Compose as you like.
Woohoo. This one looks like a pumpkin a little bit.
It does look
This
a little
one.
bit
Ah.
pumpkin-esque. Are you happy with it?
Yep.
Is
So
there
speed,
an annual
7.
focus?
Yeah.
We are
And then
constantly-
Auto
brightness.
brightness.
You've got it all under control now. What's the question?
The question was, is there a manual focus? And I said we're constantly manually focused.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The autofocus is probably the thing that's, it'll get you kind of close with the scanning electron microscope, but it doesn't know which surface you want to have in focus. And when the depth of field is quite small, like when you get super close magnification like we are currently, then it doesn't know which object you think is the most important to have in focus. So it usually just tries to get the whole field in focus, which may or may not be the thing that you want. So typically, you could use the autofocus to kind of get it close, and then everything else after that is operation from the person who's controlling the focus knob. Curtis Smith says he has the same moon lamp.
I know, he said he liked to stand.
It's very popular.
I know
It's
another
cool.
person with the moon lamp.
I have an Earth
Crazy.
as well.
You have an Earth?
Oh yeah, and it changes from light blue to dark blue like
Dude.
the ocean does.
I don't have the Earth one.
So our magnification is back around almost 8,000 times now. So whatever we were looking at before and what we're looking at now, the little spheres are probably the same thing.
I feel like it's bacteria.
Bird poop bacteria. This is Mallory's boat.
Whoa.
Random globular structures found on a ginkgo leaf would be the, minimum. Framboidal texture.
What'd you say to me?
Framboidal.
What's that?
It means it has the shape of raspberries.
Hmm.
Not really.
This does.
Well,
Raspberries are my favorite food.
The raspberries are a bunch of little globes. They're your favorite food?
Mhm.
Like
Food?
all together?
Yep.
Not
food?
like raspberry on something, but just
No,
like
just
straight from the bush
raspberries.
raspberry?
Yes.
You eat that as a meal?
Not as a meal, as a snack.
As a snack, okay.
Yeah.
Eleanor.
So if I buy a pie for Mallory and she's not there, I should get something with raspberry in it for you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Every day I sink a little lower. I'll be honest with you. I gotta say, like, every food, and it's raspberries. Like, not even like a meal.
It's your favorite food.
It
What's wrong
bothers
with
me a
that?
little
It's
bit. I don't know. It
amazing.
just.
It tastes like 12 times better than everything else in the world.
Also, what other food comes with like, right?
Have you ever tried mashed potatoes?
Yes, they're not that good, Mallory.
But it really is, though. That's the thing.
Have you ever tried cookies? Wait, never mind.
Oh, fit live on stream.
Blackberries are pretty good, Ribozoid.
Blackberries are so far.
How likely is it to find a diatom in the poo? Pretty small, probably, because it's probably bird poop. So birds don't eat diatoms typically,
Pretty good.
unless they're flying water birds. They probably do, but they wouldn't be like pooping on a ginkgo leaf, probably. So, all right. Have we satisfied ourselves by looking at the poop enough?
Yes. So we're gonna go to the fuzzy leaf now.
This is a fuzzy leaf.
So when you pick it up, like it feels super soft.
Oh, it's got like a lot of hairs on it or
Yeah,
something?
it's got hairs on it.
Okay, let's do this.
On a brightness.
Cinnamon said it will be dissolved in
Whoa.
stomach acid.
That actually looks really cool.
What is that?
It's
the
hairy
fuzzy
leaf.
leaf.
A fuzzy leaf.
Ooh,
Oh, we're being rated.
Oh, we're being rated.
with
Yeah.
52 viewers. Oh,
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Allison B.
Who is
Wild.
rating us?
Allison B. Wild.
Oh,
Allison
nice.
B. Wild with a big party and a giant raid has come in. Can we give Allison a shout out?
Faced cheese just.
Oh, face
falls.
cheese.
Can you get that? You can get
Yeah,
that
I
in
got
focus
it.
for us. So welcome to our channel.
Mhm.
Today we are looking at some random things in the scanning electron microscope that Eleanor and Addie and I don't know if Mallory was in on the
No, it's
shenanigans.
just Addie and me.
They went out and collected some random things from around campus, and occasionally we like to just sort of take a look at, I don't know, cool random things, to check out their textures in the scanning electron microscope for the streams. Sometimes the streams are a little bit more scientific in nature, where we're looking at diatoms or microfossils. That's usually probably what we mostly do in here. And then Eleanor and in the background behind her is Mallory, are undergrad students that work in my lab, and they help me out with the streams occasionally, either reading the chats or just entertaining people with their antics. So right now we're looking at a fuzzy leaf of unknown tree type because Eleanor
Oh my
collected
gosh,
it.
look at that.
What is that?
I don't know.
QD, thank you for the follow.
It's like stuck in it.
Cutie?
QD,
Cutie?
QD.
QD.
Joe Biden.
What are the? It's like ramen noodles.
Yeah.
There's ramen noodles in this one.
Is there any way I can like,
What?
I don't know if auto brightness will help.
Popularity contest would like to know, what are you working right now? What are you looking at right now? Like, what are we doing?
Oh,
We're
it's-
looking at a fuzzy
It's
leaf.
a fuzzy leaf, so
in
it's
a
a
scanning
leaf,
electron
but when you
microscope.
feel it, it's got like hairs on it.
I guess
Yeah.
they meant more like, what's the purpose?
Oh, recreation.
None of the above.
Right now we're just having fun doing some sort of outreach on what you can see on a scanning electron microscope.
Look at that. That's
Normally,
crazy.
there's a little bit more sort of a research aspect to what we're doing. A little bit later in the stream, we might switch out the carousels and actually put some diatoms on here.
I don't know what that
Can you
is.
zoom in on that really close and then just get a picture of the
Yeah.
ramen noodle looking stuff? It's probably a mold.
Oh. Super cool though.
Yeah, it's got like a little spirals.
I think I'm gonna go out more so I can like see it.
So right now our
I can get that.
magnification is only you're only at about 1,000 times magnification, and also we're still kind of quite far away. So if we wanted to improve the quality of the image, we could actually get a little bit closer.
Okay.
Here, let me do that with this tool right here. We can zoom in, bring the stage up, so it's vibrating a little. It'll look a little wonky for a couple of seconds, and then now we'll be able to get actually a little bit more resolution out of our image. We were zoomed out because we thought maybe there was some more of a bug we needed to see, and then we just didn't zoom back in before that. So you see this sort of
Boom.
like spirally, stringy stuff. I think it's probably some type of mold.
Okay.
You know what to do.
7.
Did you give a shout out to
Much.
Allison?
Mm-hmm.
For people who don't know, Allison B. Wild does a bunch of like outdoorsy stuff. Her streams are really cool. She does hiking and kayaking and sort of like outdoor exploration. So really neat stream to watch. And occasionally I drop in and ask her questions, or she stops by here. So we're really happy to have any viewers who are coming from the channel to hang out with us while we look at stuff in the scanning electron microscope. As I mentioned, sometimes our streams are a little bit more like we're looking for specific species, or I'm actually doing research. For people who haven't seen me, I'm off to the side of the camera because I'm allowing Ellie to run the scanning electron microscope today. And, sorry, Eleanor.
I got
And-
back up.
And Mallory is helping out with the entertainment value in the back there, as usual.
I have a stroke live on.
She's mad about cookies just before you came in.
Yeah, you got
What?
I said, yeah, they missed a lot of screaming.
Yeah, it's alright. You
Hey.
didn't miss anything. It takes a little while to collect an image in the scanning electron microscope because it doesn't use light. So while it looks like we're loading an old web page from the 1980s or 90s, in fact, the image is actually being drawn as a photo, or what we would think of as a photo, basically while you're watching. So as it moves across the sample below, the electrons interact with the specimen, and it knocks electrons out of the actual material, and those are captured by the secondary detector, which collects secondary electrons that come off of the sample. And when there's a lot of them, each one causes the image to get a little bit brighter at a point, and when there's a lot of them, you'll get a really bright point. And so if you think of it like a flashlight reflecting off of a surface, if the surface is pointed towards you, you get more light reflected off of it. If it's pointed away from you, you get less light reflected off of it. We're not usually using actual light, but the secondary detector is off to one side of the chamber, so it only captures stuff basically at an angle that it's pointed towards. consistently, sort of like a flashlight, and it creates the illusion that we're looking at stuff in 3 dimensions and using, you know, light. But there's no light inside the chamber other than a little bit of infrared light coming from the camera that's looking into the chamber.
They want to know.
Let's see.
Rafiki would like to know what that springy stuff is. And I think the answer is we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know for sure. This is a fuzzy leaf that Eleanor collected, and it's probably a little bit of mold that's growing on it. So the you know, this sort of noodly looking shape that it has makes me think that it's likely mold. And also, when we zoom out, so if you can scroll out with the magnification there, Ellie, they'll be able to see that there's the
Yeah.
we need to fix the brightness settings, but you can actually see the little hairs are going to look like tree trunks in this image. They're the
Yeah.
big things that are standing up around the outside edges. And then the surface of the leaf itself has that sort of squiggly texture as there's probably a little bit of mold, or maybe it's the actual texture of the cells adjacent to it. And the reason it's so bright is because we've been focused on it with the scanning electron microscope for a little bit, and it has it probably has a little bit of moisture in it. So those two things are probably causing the electrons to sort of stick to the outside of it and make it appear really bright. So here we can get zoomed in on one of the actual little hairs, which is what Eleanor is doing right now. So these are the little hairs in this sort of like hairy leaf structure of the plant. And then in the background, that sort of like reticulated texture is actually the cells of the plants themselves. So, you know, do whatever you'd like with it. You probably want to change the brightness and contrast because it's adjusted for that bright patch
Okay.
that we were looking at. So, here we go. So you can see the actual like hair type things that are standing off of them. In many plants, the little hair structures that you're looking at actually have a bit of silica in them. So while we're having fun talking about, you know, like random things we come across, probably if we were to dissolve this leaf and get rid of all the organic matter, there would be a little bit of silica left behind in the shape of these little root hairs that are here. And you can see some more, yeah, that
Noodly
mold or
stuff.
whatever it is, noodly stuff is on here as well. So the little silica pieces that grow in those follicles or hair pieces or whatever you want to call them that come off of the plant are called phytoliths, and we do sometimes find phytoliths in lake records. So for the people who are interested in the sort of sciencey aspects of what we're doing, there are some sort of I don't know if you want to call them skeletal parts, but they're kind of like skeletal parts of plants that can be preserved, and we're looking at sort of the living version of it. It's cool. You should take a picture with that without the tape in the field of view, though. So the stuff on the left-hand corner of the photograph is actually some carbon tape that's used to attach the sample to the stub inside the scanning electron microscope. Yeah, something like in here would be nice. With the crazy stringy stuff going every direction, I would say just fix the brightness and contrast a little bit and change
Go
the...
check this guy out. He's got something.
Popularity contest
There
wants
you
to
go.
know how much for a hobby level acceptable SEM.
Well, it's kind of an expensive hobby. The scanning electron microscopes typically range in price from around $80,000 to upwards of $500,000. So if you have that kind of money to drop on your hobbies, then it's a pretty easy thing to actually learn how to use. And it's actually not that expensive to operate. But the actual instrument itself is probably not something that a hobbyist could really get access to. I have one in my lab because I use it primarily for scientific purposes. And then occasionally when we stream, it's kind of fun to look at some other things. So we do these kind of science outreachy sort of more fun streams where we kind of just look at stuff and try to figure out what it is. So I don't know, as a hobby, you probably wouldn't fare very well unless you've got a couple $100,000 to drop on a hobby. Or if you're a hobbyist who also describes diatoms, you might be able to manage it. because there's a market for that, I suppose.
NeoGoo1236 says, considering this is a plant, I'd assume your majors are related to biology.
Oh, so I'm a professor, and Mallory in the background has a chemistry degree she's working on, and Eleanor is a geology degree that she's working on. But they're both in my lab. And my background is my training is as a geologist, but my field of work is actually in ecology and paleoecology. So I sort of mix those things together. I study lakes and environments. So typically freshwater environments, but also have a pretty solid background in fossils and geology, and a lot of my stuff spans back in time, millions of years. So I don't just look at modern organisms, I also look at ancient ones.
NeoGoo said, very cool. I kind of thought you were a professor with the way you were talking.
Me talk pretty one day.
Why What For said, I've seen people buy old ones, like 20 years old or something, that use CRTs and stuff. You need to be really knowledgeable to fix them.
Yeah, if you want to use the really old SEMs, you can probably get them for cheap. A lot of universities, basically, they use them, and then, they have them for a long time, probably even longer than 20 years. And then something breaks on it, and they just don't have it's not, economical to try to repair it for them. Or it's just like they decide that it's time to get a new instrument. Our instrument's it's only about 3 years old, and the lifespan of that instrument, I think the Tescan Vega 3 probably is about 8 years old as an instrument. So, but the modern scanning electron microscopes, like if you were to go out and buy one today, in this range, you'd still be buying this one. So it's still up to date with respect to maintenance and all those things. But that actually ends up being the sort of major cost associated with the scanning electron microscope is the maintenance and knowing what you're doing in order to operate it, of course.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions from a lot of people. Rafiki asked, have you ever been to Lake Superior to do work?
I don't do any scientific research in Lake Superior, but it's pretty close to where we are. I'm based out of Indiana, and I have had some samples collected from Lake Superior before because I've had students that came to work in my lab from Michigan, and so they would collect some samples. Actually, I just sort of like that view, the sort of overview. Ooh, that's cool.
That's like where the hair came off.
Yep,
and then
it snapped, and you can kind of see into the inside of
see
the little
close we can
cylinder.
get.
So I have looked at some diatoms from Lake Superior before from a couple of different embayments where cities are, where my students have collected some samples, and I have some diatoms from those lakes in my collection. But the primary researchers who work on the Great Lakes, they really spend their whole careers working on the Great Lakes. And one of my colleagues does this. His name is Dr. Ewan Reevy, and he's at the Large Lakes Observatory. And he studies diatoms from the Great Lakes systems. That's basically his primary research tool. And he does a great job, so he doesn't really need me in there interfering with it. But I have looked at lakes. I spend a lot of time looking at lakes from East Africa, so especially the really large lakes in East Africa, Tanganyika, Malawi, Turkana, and some of the ancient lakes from East Africa as well, from ones that either don't have names or don't have names that you would recognize. So because they're no longer lakes. But locally, we look at small ponds and reservoirs for water quality. And more broadly, I work in the Sierras, the Rocky Mountains. I've worked in South America. I work in Himalayas. Ellie's got some projects in the lab right now where she's looking at some diatoms locally from acid mine drainage sites. And Mallory in the background is working on a project with me looking at some diatoms from Malawi and Tanganyika in Africa. So my students do a bunch of research in those areas. Got a new grad student with some research in Colombia, country of Colombia, and so she might be doing some. We might be doing some new diatom records from there as well. You have more questions, Mallory? that many, huh?
1 second. I'm just typing up. I'm sending Instagram link.
Oh, you're sending.
Instagram link.
You can just type the IG.
IG. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
I was just typing other stuff because they were asking about. How to
Yeah,
use
that's
WordPress
my
and that's-
Instagram account. You'll see that there's some images that are colored in the bottom corner that come by, and it's because I've colored them with false coloring using a combination of Procreate and Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, to color most of those. That's just sort of a side hobby of mine. So if you're interested in actually, I don't know, if you wanted to sort of purchase stuff that has scanning electron image microscope stuff on it, I think
I got it already.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, the calendar?
dang
Is
it.
it CAL maybe? Yeah, I made a little calendar using some scanning electron microscope images, and we have a Redbubble site, and that also has some scientific drawings that we've done, rather that I've done from some scanning electron images that we have for diatoms and tardigrades and some other things. So if you're really interested in that, you can. Should point out that I'm not trying to like sell you things to make money. Any of the subs or any of the money that we make associated with the stream either comes back to buy supplies that we use for the stream, or it goes into buying supplies and paying for student workers.
Can I go to slide 5?
Can you get one that's just like that?
Yeah.
Kind of like it, like Battlefield
out.
look, like dead things laying everywhere.
Let's see. Doo-doo-doo.
Yeah. So
Let me
just
slow it down.
change the speed and
Yeah, there we go.
and then
Is that good?
yeah, speed and then
Okay.
image. Yeah, collect it.
7. Maybe auto brightness.
Yeah. Why not? You can see all the little hairs on the surface
Yeah.
of the plant leaf, of the leaf surface, and then the actual, like, we saw some of the mold growing on those structures, or what we think is mold, and then you can actually see the sort of texture, the reticulated texture of the leaf cells themselves. This is a pretty cool image. All of these are actually pretty cool from this sample.
I think it's interesting, like how it goes down, kind of like it.
You can see the
Yeah.
topography. Yeah. Actually, the scanning electron microscope, the secondary electrons are primarily used to give us an understanding of the topography. So it's drawing or taking a picture, if you like, of the surface, but effectively it's a topographic viewpoint. So it's turning the electrons into a 2D image. But scanning electron microscopes can actually be used for a lot more. Our scanning electron microscope has an elemental analyzer, which will actually be able to tell us if we were interested in, at a particular point in our sample, if we wanted to look and try to figure out what was the elemental composition, we could actually get that information out of the scanning electron microscope. It does that by having the electron beam interact with the sample, and when electrons are knocked out of specific spheres of the atoms, so where the electrons usually are rotating around the nucleus, when they get knocked out of the different layers or spheres on the outside edge of the atom, what happens is the ones that are at a higher level will move down to a lower level, and when they do, they lose a little bit of energy. They don't need as much energy, so they give off some energy in the form of X-rays, and then we can use the differences between like one ring of electrons to the next to give us an idea of which elements they are. So there's an elemental analyzer associated with this one, and we can also sort of use the backscattered electrons, which would give us some idea of the differences in the density of the materials that we're looking at. I primarily look at things using the secondary detector because we don't typically put metals or things that are minerals on here that I really need to kind of like figure out what it is. But we do have some other faculty at the university where I work here that will sometimes use the elemental analyzer, or we have people come in from industry occasionally that want to use this scanning electron microscope to figure out whether there's gold in their samples or something like that. And it can be used for those purposes.
I have a couple of
Okay, throw more.
things. Okay. So, did you know what kind of leaf this is? I just said a fuzzy one.
Fuzzy, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
don't
wasn't
know.
involved in the collection. It was Eleanor and Addison, two
Uh-huh.
students from my lab.
If I Googled it, I probably could find it. But
Okay. We don't know for right now. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
And then, you have a super high voltage beam with a really low power. What's the actual draw of the microscope per hour? Like, how much energy does it use? I think.
Oh, I don't really know.
Isn't it like,
It's not very much.
it's like a microwave?
Yeah, it functions basically like a microwave. It's not going to brown out my electricity here. I'm on campus, so I don't really have access to how much energy is being used by it. I don't really have like a resource that tells me that. So I suppose I could probably look it up. It's a Tuscan Vega 3, so if you were like really curious about what's the voltage and how much energy does it use, you could probably find that information. It's not something that I'm particularly curious about, so I haven't looked it up. But somebody out there probably knows what the electricity usage is.
Mama Bonbon said, could you pencil that process in your schedule someday? And I think she's talking about the chemical composition.
Oh, yeah.
Aspect of it.
We could do it. Like one of the times where I have some mineral stuff that we could look at one day. It's just, I usually have something else in mind for this dream, like looking at diatoms or... Did we change subjects, or is this the same one?
yes, this is a wasp nest.
Oh, can you zoom out really far
This is.
before we start? Are you all the way out?
Yeah, I'm all the way
okay,
out.
here, let's
we
do
could
this thing.
do the.
Yeah, we actually
Yeah.
lower the stage. So we just do this. We'll drop back out so that people can get a sense of what it is that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And then we can zoom back in when you want to take a picture of it. I'm sure everybody's familiar with a paper wasp nest, so that's what these are. I don't think we have any other types of wasps around here that actually make nests. But so you're looking at like the plant material that the wasp chews up and then spits out and forms a nest from it, right? So this sort of fuzzy stuff that we're looking at in here, and then it's pretty easy to change samples. We have about 7 things on our carousel. So I just want to give you sort of an overview, and now I'm going to bring the stage back up so we can actually get a nice, clean, high-resolution close image of what we're looking at. We could probably even get a little closer than that. And then I'll let Ellie take over the controls again.
Okay. Let's see if we can find anything cool. It's kind of cool with the side.
Eleanor, Tropical Geek asked how your vacation was.
Oh.
Long one.
It was great.
Tropical Geek is here.
I was a substitute teacher. That was fun.
Oh, they asked what is a paper wasp. They're the kind of like reddish brown colored wasps usually that people think of when they think of a wasp. They make little nests in like the corners of windows and the sides of houses or up on the sides of your roof, and they're relatively harmless. People confuse them with other things that are more dangerous. But yep, you took a picture at a really fast speed. Yep, you did it.
You know what I always do? I always try
Can I
to-
just like not save this?
Yeah, you can hit the X
I
and then
always
hit the
try and
X on the
break the
picture.
image.
Just hit cancel and
Yeah.
then
I'm just gonna
close the image.
get over here. Okay.
You don't want to just leave it open. You want to
I
close
know,
it.
I know.
Dr.
Not that one.
No,
This one. The behind one.
the behind one.
There you go. You wanted to save it and you said yes,
Ugh.
but it's a no. So hit OK. Cancel.
Oh my god.
Cancel. There you go.
I'm so bad at computers.
It's just about answering the question it wants. What is it?
What got you initially interested in his subject besides the fact it's infinitely cool?
So I started out looking at, I have a geology background, and I was looking at, I got my master's in looking at the San Andreas Formation in the Permian in New Mexico, and there's not really a modern analog that's really comparable to the type of environment that was, but I kind of wanted to work a little bit in what would be the modern equivalent to that. And so I worked for a while at the United States Geological Survey um, in, in South Florida, in Florida Bay Ecosystem History Reconstruction Project. And there they basically were looking at the, the Florida Keys got closed off by people who built roads and railroads across them. And it had an influence on the ecosystem of the Florida Bay. The whole area on the inside of the Keys, all the way up to the Everglades, basically was influenced by these sort of construction that people did. And we had some people come and study it. I was working on micromollusks at the time with my advisor at the USGS, and then a diatom person came in and was studying how the water affected the diatom record from those sites. And I started talking with her about how diatoms could be used, and then ultimately decided I wanted to work in freshwater systems, and I ultimately got really interested in them. They're charismatic, and they can tell you a lot about environments, and so as a result I just sort of sort of fell in love with the idea of working on diatom stuff, and I've never lost interest in them since I started. So I've just sort of gone deeper and deeper into it. I've done a bunch of taxonomy in recent years as we got a scanning electron microscope, but I'm primarily a paleoecologist. I use them to try to reconstruct past environments still.
They
What?
what?
What are you asking?
No.
They
No, I was gonna say that I typed up. No,
Use your words.
I'm struggling here. They said, so what is this research? Research in this field consists of finding new species, and then I explained how diatoms change over time, and when you see how diatoms change over time, you can see how environment change over time, and then I said that you could work in taxonomy, or focus on the genetics, or blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I was gonna
Helping.
explain that, and then I was like,
You were helping.
I'm struggling here.
Okay.
My mouth's not working.
As long as your fingers are working, I suppose that's fine.
It's fair. Some of these diatoms look yummy.
None of these are diatoms. We haven't looked at any diatoms yet today. Right now we're looking at a wasp nest. Some of the diatoms in the maybe they mean in the pictures in the slideshow. Some of them probably would look like pretty cool candy.
Popularity contest. Let's go. If you have a dream subject you would like to study, I believe it's directed towards you.
Me?
Yeah.
I like what I do actually. I'm doing my dream subject. Actually being able to use the scanning electron microscope whenever I like, and to work on diatom taxonomy. It'd be really cool. I've already described a bunch of species, and I've described a new genus. Mostly I like to just sort of answer scientific questions. So, a lot of the things I've got the privilege of working on as a scientist have been really interesting for me. And so, like I don't have anything out there that I really like. Oh, would it be great if I looked at this lake system or whatever? I just like to answer interesting questions and solve puzzles associated with our past environments and Earth's history, really.
Oh, I got excited. I thought it was a wasp. It's not.
It's definitely not.
Dang it.
It was
Okay.
inside of a wasp once.
Yeah.
Just in its mouthy bits.
Man.
Yeah. It made a nest. Could have been wasp eggs,
Yeah.
depending on where you sampled the nest from.
Is it possible to create a 3D image with an SEM?
It definitely is. In fact, I've done that. If you go, probably you have to dig around in my Twitter profile a little bit, but I should probably find a way to link it. So if you're familiar with the idea of photogrammetry, in science, photogrammetry, and I guess in industry as well, photogrammetry is when you take multiple pictures of an object from different directions, and then you use that to actually create a three-dimensional model. And with the scanning electron microscope we have, we can actually tilt and rotate the stage very easily. So we can take pictures from many different angles. Oh, it's the snail shell.
Mm-hmm.
You can take pictures from many different angles, and then, once you have sort of a requisite number of pictures, you will be basically able to create a three-dimensional model from those pictures. And I've done this with diatoms. In fact, the diatom that our camera is propped up on, pardon the wiggle, is this one. And that's actually made and printed 3D model that we created by just taking pictures of diatoms using a scanning electron microscope. So I took pictures from like a low angle, a medium angle, a high angle, and then from straight above. And then basically we used that to create a 3D model. It's basically just two half diatoms that we keep together to create what looks to be a hand-sized 3D model of a diatom, and this would normally be something that's about maybe 30 microns large. So it's nice for outreach purposes to be able to do that, so I could showcase the features of the actual diatom in a hand-sized model. But I'm going to put it back under the camera so I don't lose it. Yes, so you can definitely do that. We've done that, and I did it in collaboration with Alex Badillo, who's a doctor here in our faculty who does photogrammetry, looking at archaeological things. So he primarily uses like drones to fly over archaeological sites, and then uses it to preserve and also get an idea of what those landscapes look like in 3D. It's there you go.
They're saying that you're going in Speedy Gonzales mode, Eleanor.
I am.
The Tropical Geek said that, so I wouldn't take
She
it
thinks
too
you're jumping
seriously.
around too much.
Oh, okay. I'll
Slow down.
I'll chill. There you
It's
go.
spazzing out with the controls. So right now we're looking at the outside surface of a snail that Eleanor or Addie collected a couple of days ago.
This was also outside of Mallory's window in the lab.
There was a snail outside of her window.
Yep.
Just the shell. The
Just the
organism
shell.
is gone. If it wasn't before, it is now.
It was empty.
You can see, actually, so we should talk a little bit about snails. So snails belong to the group gastropoda, and that means stomach, foot, and they create a shell. You can actually see those bands on the shells that Ellie's sort of highlighting with the cursor. Those are growth bands, and the snail makes its house by secreting or calcifying from aragonite materials, and it builds it onto the outside hole. So where the opening of the snail comes out, basically it just keeps adding pieces to it, and it coils around itself. And what you could do, if you were a scientist that studied snails, for example, you could actually go in, mill out individual layers on there, and then you could see how the chemistry of the shell changed over time. And people use this actually to reconstruct the water of different types of environments for aquatic snails. This is a terrestrial snail, so the value of that is probably pretty limited, but you can still see the sort of growth bands. And the bands that are on there probably represent either annual or seasonal, or in some cases they can be daily additions to the skeleton. And with the scanning electron microscope, you can easily see them as these sort of little ridges. And there's some moldy stuff that's growing on the outside of it that Eleanor has zoomed in for us right now.
Woohoo.
Oh, and yeah, people can, for older snails, they can actually date it. Or they also do the same thing for clams. And there's a whole science to matching up the growth bands, because once you know how frequently they're putting on their skeletal mass, the thickness of the bands might tell you something about how good the conditions or poor the conditions were for an organism. And if it's the same type of organism, you might be able to actually kind of cross-calibrate them to extend the records. So there's a whole field of this that's basically similar to the like dendrology, where they study tree rings, where they just look at the annual growth of organisms that put annual growth bands on that aren't trees. It's called sclerectomy or something like that, sclerectology, something like that, where they basically study the annual growth of organisms and try to use it to tell something about the history or the environment where they lived. Sclerology? Maybe it's sclerology. Snail dating. Fish otoliths. Oh yeah, they do the same thing with the ear bones of fish, right? So good point, Pacific. They do it for corals, for fish bones, the bones in fish ears, the otoliths, and snail shells and clam shells. And I think there's some other things that have sort of annual growth bands that leave a fossil record. Yeah, for popularity contests, that's exactly the same as people use for dendro. They use a lot of the same techniques, and sometimes they can compare the records together because they span similar time frames. So they can say like how well a tree does in an area versus also how well the coral or fish or something else do in the same area. But they can definitely tell how old organisms are using it, and they can use it for getting a sense of, I guess, quality of life for the organism, right? How well they grew or didn't grow. Oh yeah, they do it for humans too. Yeah, that's a good point. Humans do have annual growth for some of their parts.
Check out the ridges.
Yeah. I don't think we have bands, but I know we have growth plates.
Yeah.
And they don't reach a certain size.
Yeah. Very artsy shot you took.
I was about to say, I was like, did you take this perfectly from the side? Like, it looks like you're looking upon a savanna with trees.
Okay, make it look like a landscape.
Yes. Does the SEM automatically calibrate to get a good contrast on the image, or is that set already?
So the SEM is actually really good at getting adjusting for brightness and contrast. Probably can do it much faster than even Ellie and I could manage to do it. We have to push a button to make it happen. And I've trained Ellie to push the button before she takes the picture every time now.
I could do that.
So, but it automatically adjusts for those things. There's also controls where we could change it if we didn't like what it was producing, but I feel like our SEM does a really good job with brightness and contrast, at least good enough that I can then take the images into Photoshop or Lightroom, and I can make them even a little bit better usually. So I sort of feel like it's a good first order image, and then I usually have to do a little bit of processing to make it look as good as I want it to be. But you can do that after it's already out of the instrument. So I feel like it's good enough for step one. Usually what I have to do, you can see the images are sometimes a little bit noisy. So while I'm doing image processing, I usually go through and do some noise reduction, and then I usually play around with the brightness and contrast quite a bit, and then of course when I colorize them, I actually go in and pick out the highlights and the shadows and change the colors basically by those controls.
There we go.
As someone into astronomy and space topics, I'd love to see lunar regolith, Martian sands, etc. under an SEM.
Do you know, that would be great, except for it's really hard to get access to things like moon rocks, and I don't think anything's ever come back from Mars, so we don't have any Martian material.
You know what would be cool? If we broke into one of those museums.
I have a story about this.
Really?
Oh gosh.
Not
That's
about breaking
concerning.
into anything,
That's
but
worse.
when I worked at the United States Geological Survey, I worked at the one at the National Center.
And you stole movies?
No, the
Live
lab.
on stream, Dr. Stone.
The lab that I worked in was adjacent to a lab where they had originally kept the moon rock, and they had some moon rocks that they had actually brought back to Earth, obviously.
Multiple?
Yeah, and they had to. The room was like overpressured, so that like you had to keep the
Yeah.
pressure sort of set the way that you want, so that it wouldn't contaminate anything, or stuff wouldn't contaminate it or something. I don't know. So it was like a really weird room. You'd walk in, it was kind of like it had an airlock to get in and out of it. Yeah.
Did it
But
hurt your ears or something?
I didn't go in there very frequently because it was like just the next door lab. But it was right next to. I mean, our lab was right next to where they kept it. So. But I've never actually touched a moon rock or whatever. It's just basalt. I'll let you know. We have basalt here on Earth.
It's just basalt. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I didn't want to say it, but like if you look at, unless we found life in the dirt on Mars,
Right.
it's just gonna look like a bunch of crumbles. It's not that exciting.
It's gonna look like rocks.
It's-
I could actually probably fool you. Put some basalt from Earth on our SEM and say, oh, this is a moon rock.
The
But-
EDAX.
But yeah, the EDEX would probably tell us some cool stuff. But I will tell you that my SEM has had meteorite pieces in it before. So believe it or not, we have a guy here in the chemistry department who looks at meteorites.
Dr. Wolf came up here?
Yeah, we had his class came up for an instrumentation discussion about scanning electron microscope instruments, and I gave them a little mini lecture on how the SEM works. And he brought a bit of moon rock in, or not moon rock, but a meteorite. I think they're chondrite meteorites that he looks at, and we did have it on the SEM for a little while, but I think I gave it back to him.
Which,
It might be in that box if it in front of
this
you.
box?
Yeah.
You keep a meteorite in a caboodle?
I mean, it's a caboodle. That's what they're for, isn't it?
I have
Let me
one
see.
in my
What
dorm.
class?
I
What
might have
class
given
is
it back
for?
to him.
Oh,
It was
they
like
have to
he
take it.
teaches a class on instrumentation.
Is it analytical too?
I don't know what it's called. I'm not a chemistry major. You're a chemistry major.
Yeah, what about it?
No, these aren't his. This had like it was in like I must have given it back to him. They're precious, so they probably kept it.
Could you please show us the current sample of the snail via webcam? Take a while.
Inside the SEM webcam, or do you mean like?
Or
Then you
just
like
zoom
take
out.
it out and hold it up to the webcam.
Oh yeah. When we're done with the when we're done, what do we have besides?
We have
the
an
snail?
onion next.
Well, we have an onion. We're going to switch out the samples and put in some diatom material, and when we do that, I can actually hold up my phone camera and use the Droid cam, or I can put it in front of the webcam, so you can see it. But you probably won't see much because they're very small. I'll let you do that.
Okay.
There are a bunch of questions now after that.
Sorry.
Do they have an SCM on the ISS? I don't think so.
That'd be cool.
I don't think they do.
Don't they just collect things and send? Wait, ISS doesn't even collect anything. They just float out there, don't they? They collect
Well,
data.
They do
people
stuff.
go up and down, but I don't
They
think
collect
they.
people? What do you
No,
saying?
people go into the space station and come out of the space station. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think they have room for a scanning electron
Yeah, it'd be
microscope
pretty
up
big.
there.
Kinda like
Okay.
space, aren't
Yeah, it's got a bunch of scientific equipment, but I don't think there's a scanning electron microscope up there.
I read about like how they have to go to the bathroom and it's
you
terrible.
can find micrometeors in your gutters.
Micrometeors are in my gutters.
Yeah, if you look through the little dirt or the sand that goes up in there,
Oh.
and you find little tiny balls of iron that look like solder, they're actually micrometeors.
They look like
Cool.
what?
Solder.
Like what?
It says solder. Don't do this to me at this time.
Solder.
No, it's SOLDER.
I know.
Solder.
I'm trying to help you. It's solder.
No. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to change the English language.
Okay,
because that
so
doesn't
this
make
is
sense
what
to me.
a dehydrated onion looks like.
That's an onion
Yeah.
leaf. An onion, or is it the stalk? It's a wild onion.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in on the cells? Like the surface?
So let's fit in a few more quick questions.
Throw them in.
How big of an image does the SEM take?
We can adjust the size of the image. So the current one is collecting 1280 by 1280. But the actual size of the image that we collect
that's
could be
kinda
set
cool.
to basically much, much larger images. So it's just that it would take a lot longer to collect the image. So because it scans it, we add more pixels, it just means it sits on the object for, it scans it more slowly and takes a lot longer to produce the same size image. So for our images, I have it set to 1280, and on speed 7, which is what Ellie's been taking pictures of, that's about 3 minutes. If we were to switch it to double that size, it would take 10 minutes to take the same image, but it would be 3 times larger. So that's the issue with it. You're just trying to make a decision about how much time do you want to wait for that image to collect, and how well do you need to have it resolved. For everything that we do, outside of maybe taking an image that we might want to put on a jigsaw puzzle for the Redbubble site or something, there's not really a whole lot of purpose in taking it at a much higher image quality than we could put in a typical journal publication. So like a 1-page image it's actually smaller than the image we're collecting, so we have to shrink them in order to put them on a page typically. So there's not a lot of purpose of it. And sometimes I use images from the SEM for posters, and still 1280 by 1280 is plenty big enough for like a poster, high quality poster image, without actually having to do anything. Maybe we could stretch it to be a little bit bigger, but it doesn't start to actually pixelate at that point. So, and occasionally I will increase the resolution of things if I have something really particular that I'm trying to get an image for, but most of the time that's totally functional. Is there more questions, Mallory? For the entire chat, you have Mallory as a filter, so if you feel like your questions aren't being asked correctly,
No, because then they're gonna bully me again, and I'll start crying.
what you should do, if you feel like your
Just
question
keep saying it
hasn't been
over and over
addressed,
again.
is put an @ symbol and then ISU SEM Igor, and then she will see it highlighted, and then she will maybe read it more effectively.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Don't bully her.
They're mostly going back and forth talking about things that are on the ISS.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
People can chat about stuff.
You guys are talking, I didn't want to
Yeah, they don't.
Actually, little known thing, except everyone in the chat knew it because they already mentioned it, is that Eleanor wants to become a space person.
Yeah.
She wants to live in outer space and poop outside in space.
Now they're complimenting me. Keep saying mean things about me because then they give me more compliments. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I try. There's a limit to how many mean things I can say about you, though. I mean, I can bring up the cookies again if you'd
Please
like.
don't. Not in this economy. Rubenzoid wants to know what are the resolutions.
Ooh, Mars
of the
potatoes. I used to study that in high school.
What's
I did
the-
a project on it.
What's the resolution of the images?
1280 by 1280. It's right here at the top.
Did I answer the question? That was the question. I don't know what you're looking at me for. Space person.
Space person.
What about it?
Alien.
Planetary
You
geologist.
say space man, don't you, huh? No, I'm kidding. Person hole rather than man hole.
She wants to be a woman, camera, TV person.
You gotta specify on the person that it's a woman. A woman person.
No, man, woman, person, TV, camera.
Man, woman, person, TV, camera. How are the tiny structures formed? I'm an atheist. It's because earlier they said, how does all this form? I said, depends on your religion. I've been having fun in the chat. You guys have been
Mallory.
science.
It's alright.
Replication of cells.
Did you know Mallory used to be a biology major?
You know, I did take 0 classes in biology. Well, I took genetics, but are we going to count that? Not
I think that counts.
oh gosh.
It's no longer a snail shell.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with our onion picture? Should we change out the samples?
Yeah, let's put in cooler stuff.
Okay.
No, I kind of like ignoring a lot of it. Not kidding.
Here's what we
Yeah.
need to do.
Okay.
Home button. The home button will lower the stage to the right place and spin it around.
Oh, cool.
Rrrr. It's making a rrrr noise.
Do you think it's viable people will live in space by 2030?
There's people living in space today.
I
They're
think
on
they
the
mean,
International
like,
Space
I think
Station.
they mean in Mars.
Not on Mars. Maybe on the moon. We'd have to have a colony there
I don't
first.
think we're
though.
gonna go to Mars for like a very long time. I think even the 2050
What?
estimate was
There's people
pushing it.
working on getting to Mars now, right?
Oh yeah, we got private companies now. It's a whole different game.
Yeah, but
Alright, we turn the feed off
why?
for the voltage.
Oh.
For the high voltage, so we can open the chamber.
If
So
we
we're going
don't,
to-
and I open it, would I get
It
electrocuted?
won't actually let you hit the vent button until the
Mm.
voltage is off.
Oh,
So-
Mountain Dew wants to hear a newt newt.
Newt newt.
That was a new one.
Incredible.
That
Incredible.
hissing noise you hear is the chamber being filled with nitrogen, which is effectively air, that we are pumping into the chamber so that we can open it, because it's normally under a very strong vacuum. And then you're going to get to see me swap out our samples.
The Artemis program is being worked on. NASA is working on making a moon base. Caleton wants to know if you want to be president.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
No, not president.
I wouldn't want to
Can
do
I have
that.
that,
Seems a
uh,
bit stressful.
Can you hand me the... Yep,
Yeah.
that one.
Extravehicular activity is very uncomfortable for astronauts.
I did training for EVAs at space camp once. It was fun.
SEM goes brr.
It does go burr.
My brain go brr. Newt newt. I'm a systems engineering student, and this year I want to make a couple of interactive games for streams and useful tools. Well, you can send them in the Discord. I'll send the link again. You can send them in the Discord, and we'd love to see more of it. So, you know, we talk about all different kinds of stuff, usually completely unrelated to important things. So, even
Pump.
if you want to talk about
Okay.
macaroni and cheese, that's fine. What are you putting in now?
Diatom samples.
Ah, is it the one from Rihanna?
Yeah, it's the one with the Gomphomonster on it, purportedly. So the snail is this one right here. Actually, it'd probably be helpful if I could see what I'm doing with the camera.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, it's just a little out of focus.
Eleanor?
The snail one is this one. Here's the paper wasp nest.
There's some questions for you.
There's some thing that they thought was a bug, and some things that we know are leaves. That's the ginkgo leaf one right there. That's the fuzzy leaf. So just for scale, the snail is on this little tiny stub. It's this one, right? I'm trying to give it enough background that it focuses on it where my finger is. Yeah, there you go. It's like a shadow puppet.
Except
So
it's a
everything that we've been
design.
looking at so far today is smaller than my hand.
It's less than a fingertip on scale.
Yeah. And the process of opening and closing the scanning electron microscope requires us to vent the chamber, and now you're hearing the pump basically pump back down.
No.
Oh my god.
No,
So-
Dr. Stone is the one handling the comments.
Eureka.
Actually, let's switch around.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
So I can actually be.
Dr. Stone is actually Cheese Man Mika.
Don't call him Cheese Man.
Why can't I call him Cheese Man?
That's not a nice thing to call
It's
somebody.
not a mean thing to call someone. Or is cheese bad?
Cheese is good. Cheese isn't bad.
Your two assistants stream on Twitch outside of this. No.
We should have our own stream.
Yeah.
People keep asking that.
Nobody's
What would we
stopping them
talk
from
about?
making their own stream.
What would we do?
We do cool stuff.
Just talk about skincare and
Literally,
whatever it is you'd like to talk about.
be absolutely unhinged.
You just be on just chatting every time. Talk. You know what you could do? Here's a like a baking show.
You know what? One of these days, I'm just gonna get up and walk out, and you're just gonna hear a little splat noise come from outside.
Aw.
Yeah,
What are you gonna splat?
gonna throw. I don't have a cake. I was gonna say I was gonna throw my baking stuff on the ground. Anyway. Nika said I can call him Cheese Man. So
Okay.
first of all,
That's fine, as long as he's okay with it. I just don't want you bullying him.
can you watch live stuff in the SEM? Oh, QD said he'd watch it. That's cute. Well, stay tuned. I'm sure it'll.
Most of the stuff in the SEM is in a vacuum, and that actually sort of precludes us from looking at live stuff because most things don't and can't live in a vacuum.
My mom's making me friends right now.
Your mom is making you what?
She in the chat.
She's
not in the chat. She's watching the stream.
she's making you friends?
Yes, she's recommending me friends. I can make friends on my own.
Am I going to dig out some meteorite dust from a rain gutter? You betcha. You betcha. Yeah.
Dude, that could be our first stream on our spin-off. We could get into your apartment gutters.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds exciting.
Very. How are you gonna get on top of my apartment building? I mean, you're welcome to try. Oh, where's my mom?
Was your mom on?
Oh no, they're saying hi to your mom.
Oh.
No, I am ISUSU Igor. Eleanor is Ellie Soar. Or Alicia?
Yeah, I think I'm Elysium in our little Discord.
Yeah.
He's got a picture of Delina and stuff.
My mom's not here, but she sometimes comes here, and it's incredibly entertaining.
Do you know if Pacific Plankton is still watching?
I don't know. Oh, she is.
So for Pacific Plankton, we sometimes see Ellerbeckia in her samples. And this is actually the Ellerbeckia that I'm used to seeing. This is Ellerbeckia probably inariensis, which is a diatom that's usually found in subaquatic environments. This is the way that their valve faces join with these really interesting structure right here. So they have kind of like spines that intertangle. That's two valve faces adjacent to each other, and this is the girdle band that we're looking at. We're looking at a diatom in side view. So this is their spine of valve face 1 joined together with the spines of valve face 2. They sort of look like they're intergrown. And it means they're very hard to separate. They kind of have like a Velcro-like structure. That's here, and then we look at them in the valve face. If we actually looked at the front face of it, we'd see that this thing is round or oval shaped usually, and then they have sort of poker chip margins where the spines are. Like these spine sections are actually like kind of poker chips on the valve face. We ought to be able to find some. I'm optimistic that we'll find some in valve view. Here's some more in girdle view right here. Can see a little bit into you can see the poker chip sort of style face that's on them right now.
They would like to know what the structure is between the valves and what are diatom shells made out of. Hold on,
Diatoms are made out of an opaline silica, and the skeleton are, and it's basically you're looking at the cell wall. So all of we're looking at is basically opaline silica. This is the inside of this Ellerbeckia with the margin of it right here. And in girdle view or side view, it looks like a stack of poker chips, but in the valve face, they're actually sort of cylindrical shaped. And there's a bunch of different types of diatoms in our field of view, and then also some debris, just scattered debris that was in the sample. And I'm trying, oh, look at this really long Ellerbeckia chain right here. See this really long chain of cells? They live in a sort of a colony. Their valve faces are attached to each other, and this really long chain of Ellerbeckia probably was growing in like a waterfall or something like that. They tend to specialize in subaquatic environments where the water is not always over the rock surface that they're attached to, and then they create these really long colonies. Diatoms are, of course, a single-celled organism, but they can live in colonies together, and they're a type of algae. So the diatom that I wanted to look for today in the samples is actually a Gomphomonster, which looks a little bit like, I don't know, a bowling pin, basically, in terms of their shape. So asymmetric, with one end being slightly bigger than the other. And the one that we're looking for is actually big, but it's not as big as this giant colony of Ellerbeckia. There's another Ellerbeckia colony. It's really easy to catch and see those. Some other things that are really easily visible. This is cockanice, which is a type of diatom that lives attached to plants, and usually only has one valve with this structure right here called a raphe that runs through the middle of it. So diatoms have these really intricate structures associated with their valve faces. So these little holes are particularly common, and they use those to communicate with the outside world. I don't mean speak, I mean like to exchange nutrients and waste and that sort of thing typically. And so the thing we're hunting for is potentially a new species. And we do this occasionally on stream, go looking around, see if we can find some new species of diatoms. The sample was collected from somewhere in Idaho by my friend Anna. And this little thing that we're looking at here is the diatom Rhicosphenia. And they have a really interesting, they're asymmetric, but they also have a curved valve face. And you can see the raphe on the valve face here. These little guys are Nitzias. The one that we're looking for is actually, or that I'm looking for, is actually much bigger. So I should be able to see it when we're kind of zoomed out. Maybe not this far out, but...
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't see you, so you just have to ask them.
All right. Is it normal to see man-made material affecting diatoms? I'm guessing microplastics in the sea, for example.
I don't know that they affect diatoms. Generally, diatoms are a little bit smaller or maybe the same size as most microplastic particles. So the plastic itself probably just acts as a surface area for diatoms for the most part, but there are a lot of things that eat diatoms and that are in the size range, and plastic would then be in the size range for those organisms, and so they would likely get consumed, and as a result might be problematic. Here's a Gomphomonster on its side.
Professor, do you feel like the genetic biome has changed in a major way since the last ice age?
Sure. Lots of things have changed since like 18,000 years ago. I guess it depends on what you mean in particular by the question, but I do think it's changed quite a bit.
Does the crystal structure of the silica determine diatom morphology?
Actually, that's a good question. Opaline silica, which is what diatoms are made out of, does not have a crystal structure. It's hydrated silicate, and because of the water present in it, it doesn't have what we call a crystalline structure. So technically, not a mineral, but in fact is a mineraloid, something that looks like a mineral and kind of functions like a mineral, but doesn't actually have crystal form. The shapes that you're seeing are actually a result of how the organisms polymerize the silica as they deposit it. And so it's more to do with the function of the valve than anything else. They, like any other organism that puts down a skeleton, they shape their skeleton intentionally so they can have specific purposes for it, and it's coded into their DNA. It's not like they make decisions about it, but the skeletal structure that you're seeing doesn't have anything to do with crystal structure at all. It's exclusively the genetic decision making, or whatever you want to call it, that determines how they shape the silica.
Would you find diatoms in a fish tank?
In fact, you would, and we have some samples in the lab. In the lab, from my fish tank when I used to. My daughter and I went and collected some of our fish from our koi pond, and we did. I think we brought some of it in and processed it and looked at it in the light microscope, but I don't know that I've ever put any of those things on the scanning electron microscope. So it's a sample that we could potentially mount and view sometime in a future stream. One of the things that's kind of cool about that notion is that we've also looked at diatoms that were found in our fish tanks that are here, that are marine in nature, and the fish in my koi pond also have, there's diatoms that are growing in my koi pond. But when I started with my koi pond, I didn't have any diatoms present in it because I know I started it with chlorinated water from my, my pond from a hose. and filled the tank that way, and then I treated it so that I could put the fish in it and dechlorinated it. But what's kind of interesting about that is if you go there now, that environment is actually all full of diatoms. So they've managed to colonize that environment pretty quickly. And the same thing can be said about my fish tank. It started relatively pure. I put row pure water in it, and then I added the fish, and subsequently, within a couple of months, diatoms were growing on the glass. So they've managed to colonize it. And the most likely explanation is that it's in the food that they're eating, or that they're pooping it out, and their digestive process isn't killing all the diatoms, that some of them are able to live through the digestion. And then they come out with a little bit of extra nutrient material, and then as a result, they could grow. So it's kind of cool that you can start with something that basically has nothing, no diatoms, and is pure water, and just let it sort of hang out in the environments that organisms are also using it, and eventually the diatoms will colonize in it and do quite well. And that's because they can really rapidly replicate. Their reproduction process is largely cloning themselves, and if you have enough nutrients, and it doesn't take a lot for diatoms, then they can just clone themselves repeatedly, very quickly, and as a result, grow a lot of diatoms very fast. That's what they're good at, actually. One of the things that they sort of excel at compared to most other organisms. So they bloom frequently in environments. Oh, there was a big old... It's two of them. Here's one here. There's a Cimbella. This is a type of diatom. That one's cracked. It's been broken. I saw another one up here. It's like a cluster of diatoms right there, but I saw another one like...
Do individual species culture well?
Not typically. It's hard to grow diatoms in culture. They start off doing kind of okay, and you can culture them pretty easily, and then usually within a few generations they start making weird things and growing into weird diatoms that don't look anything like the thing that they're supposed to be. So they grow well in that setting, or at least some of them do, but they do things that are not what we would anticipate for organisms in their natural environments. It's kind of hard, maybe in some cases, to replicate for some species the environments perfectly that they're used to. But you know, the growth process is pretty much fine. It's just that you might not end up with the same diatom looking thing that you started off with. So I'm just tweaking the rotation a little bit because I want this thing to be at an angle here, and maybe I over rotated it a bit. So I'm gonna zoom in a little, get the focus the way that I like. What's going on back there?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing. Nothing.
A thing?
Nothing.
A thing? Something?
Ellie's showing off her boobs. Yeah, we're talking about
Yeah,
clothes.
yeah.
We're talking about clothes, if I'm being perfectly honest here.
Talking about what?
We're talking about clothes. If you guys can't tell, I do have an immaculate fashion sense.
The homeless person you stole that from is probably offended.
Listen, guys. It looks, dude, it looks good.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
These are my shoes.
Hi from Spain. Hello from the United States.
Yeah, hello.
We're doing better. Domestication has strange consequences.
It does. And for diatoms in particular, because they clone themselves so rapidly, they very quickly get out of control. What's kind of interesting right here, I was taking a picture, trying to line up a picture for this Cimbella that we're seeing right here. So it's got a little stigma in the middle, and then the raphe ends curl upward towards the dorsal side, which is characteristic for Cimbella. Sort of think of the name cymbal, you know, like you play in a drum set, and they have sort of a cymbal shape. And then the raphes curl upward at the end, so they think of this as like a little mouth, and that's a smile or a mustache that curls upward if you like. And then I didn't realize until I started looking around on the slide a little that here's one of these Ellerbeckia. You can actually see sitting a fragment of Ellerbeckia just sort of sitting down here. So I'm going to grab this picture so I can kind of see what's going on besides the fashion conversation behind me in chat.
So we can't take them to Mars to produce oxygen?
I just wanted to ask you about your view as a scientist about how close do you think we are to biological immunity?
What? What?
What'd you say?
What'd I say? No, what'd you say?
Oh, this Pacific Plankton's been providing a link to the Diatom's website. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about Simbella, you could.
What is your view as a scientist?
About biological immunity?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Magnus up? I don't know. I don't quite understand the question. You mean like with respect to viruses or something else? Are you asking me if I believe we should get vaccinations? Yeah, I do. I just don't understand the question completely. I should also add, I'm not a biologist.
I'm a biologist.
Ask Mallory.
Don't
She'll
ask me.
she'll give you an
I
answer.
took one class and it wasn't on that. Aren't we all biologists deep down?
No.
Okay. Okay. Hey, if I were to tell you that you should show up in a suit on Monday, what would you say?
Me?
Yeah.
I would ask what for.
Well, first of all, it's a holiday.
Monday is?
Yeah.
This coming Monday?
Yeah.
Mallory's dressing up now.
Yeah.
I'm dressing up.
Yeah, what do you think the holiday is?
I have no idea.
See? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. No, it's just Eleanor's birthday. Yay!
Is that a holiday though?
Yes.
That's a birthday.
A holiday. Holla.
Do you know, in 3 days it's my daughter's birthday, so
Really?
Yeah.
that's sort of been my focus, more so than maybe Eleanor's.
So 3 days.
I heard that Eleanor was going to bring the lab in cupcakes or
I
something.
am.
So you're not going to make them though.
No.
You're going to buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good choice.
I mean, don't take advice from her.
Excuse me, my cupcakes were a smash hit. So,
Where did you smash them?
I don't know, but I just got the Tupperware back, like 2 days ago? I forgot that bowl existed until it was on my desk and I stared at it for 10 minutes. I was like, where did you come from? Where did you sprout from?
Carlin gave it to me to give to you.
You could have kept it, I would have never known. How old are
We
you turning?
we don't actually need it. You're going to be 19?
Sweet
Yeah.
19. Wait, no, it's nasty 19.
Oh.
Never mind.
Nasty?
Yeah, that's what all the girls post their Instagram bio. They say, happy nasty 19.
No, I'm gonna make 19 look good.
Really?
Yep.
You're going to make it look good?
Yep.
Wait, gosh, what's the number day? Is it 25?
Mm-hmm.
I will be dirty 30. I will be turning 21.
Oh my goodness. You're going to get so drunk.
Yeah, dude. I saw, dude. For sure. No.
For sure.
Yeah. Ugh. I
I
think
kn-
I'm going to put on a face mask and then watch some TV.
Where is this
Some
going?
Note if I haven't finished it by then, and then.
And you can drink what I got you.
You got her something
What?
to drink?
Yes.
Does she know?
What?
She doesn't seem to know.
It's a joke. You'll get it. When you get it, you'll think it's funny.
Oh, okay.
You'll think it's funny.
Okay.
I told
You
you.
can
This
How did you purchase
this
this,
Diatom is
Eleanor?
Gomphomonster, but it's too small for our
I know,
monster.
it's this one.
The monster that we're looking for.
No.
It's very good.
We want one that's about 150 microns long. Oh, this is the right size though. That is our monster, I believe. Oh, maybe it's a Gomphomonster. Nope, that's a Gomphomonster. I found this Gomphomonster in the light microscope earlier today. Gomphomonster have instead of Gomphomonster are single punctate. So between each one of these, let me zoom in. Between each one of these costi or solid pieces of silica, it has 2 dots for Gomphomonster often, and for Gomphomonema we would only see 1. So that's the shape on this, we're looking at it in the girdle view. So this is one valve up here on the top part. The bottoms and tops are kind of broken out, but this is where the apical pore field would be on the diatom. And then this would be the other valve down here. So I'm just going to zoom in real quick and get a picture. Well, get the focus right. And I'm also going to, actually, while I'm zoomed in, we never really did any of the fine controls for the SEM today. So we're trying to get stuff ready. So the wobble seems fine. It's moving very little. This is a big diatom, it's just not the one that we were looking for. And beam intensity 7, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more.
Mika wants the Chonky Boy diatom.
We're working on it, or we're trying to find it. But I might as well get a picture of this Gomphomonster, since I haven't figured out which species it is yet. While we're here, just gonna snap a little picture of that. And I can hop back over to chat and say hello. The surface texture for the Gomphomonster is driven by the fact that it has those little tiny striae or holes. You guys are talking about biology.
I confused someone in the chat. I apologize. Manigasp.
This genus is Gomphomonster, not Gomphomonema. So I thought I'll just type that right there for you. Most of the holes are square shaped, slightly, and there's a little bit of dissolution going on. So you can see the apical pore field, which are usually these things on the ends of the valves, are a little dissolved out, which means the holes that we're seeing in the valve face here probably underwent a little bit of dissolution as well.
I'm gonna have to head out soon.
You do?
I have a date I forgot about.
You forgot a date?
I did. Very important one. With a 6-year-old playing Animal Crossing at 3 p.m. I did promise that. I did promise Sylvia.
It's 3:15. You're already late.
No, it's 3:15. I said I was late. It's over here.
She's probably like wondering.
She is furious at me in my Facebook Messenger. She's like, it is past 3 p.m. I'm like, oh no.
You schedule a date with my daughter to play Animal Crossing, and then you stood her up.
No.
Oh my God.
I told her it'd be a minute. She'll be okay.
She'll be fine. At least you answered her this time.
That's a long drink right there. Go. Just bring out the Switch. See, that's the thing. I don't carry my Switch in my backpack because I'm not in. I don't do that.
You don't carry your Switch around?
No, I don't know anyone that does that.
Is it hooked up to your TV? Or you play like this?
I have a handheld one.
But you can plug them into a base station and hook it into a TV.
I don't know what that means.
Okay. That's how ours is. You plug it into the base.
Is it a handheld or is it
handheld
the
and
original one?
handheld, and then you have a mini one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a light.
That's why. That's why you're not following along. Makes more sense
You're
now.
not gonna cry. You're just gonna yell at me for a little bit and show me around.
She'll be fine. You know, she's gonna be so excited to see you again and to be able to give you some things or get some things.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her a bunch of stuff. I'll give her a bunch of money.
She won't
Okay,
care.
I'm going to leave.
Thanks for entertaining my daughter, by the way.
You're welcome.
All right, let's continue on our quest for the Gomphomonster.
Alright, take your screen away, Eleanor.
That's okay.
Take your what?
She was looking at my screen.
Yeah, I
You're
could look
sharing.
at chat.
Oh. You have no screen?
No.
You didn't bring your laptop?
Or your phone?
My laptop
Brought nothing but myself and my
is
attitude.
in the lab. I have my phone over here.
It's chilly out there, folks.
Is it chilly? I thought it was super warm this morning.
It
It's
was
chilly
warm
outside? Did you bring a bowl?
It was very, very, very warm and lovely 2 days ago, and then it was frigid yesterday, and now it's like medium cold today.
Oh, my grandma texted me.
Is your grandma watching my stream?
No.
Oh.
Hi, Eleanor's grandma.
I'm really disappointed. I was really hoping your grandma would watch my stream.
I'll see you all someday.
I think this is the wrong one still. Not big enough. Throw it back.
Bye.
See you. Thank you, Mallory. Everybody say bye to Mallory. Now if I just chased Eleanor out, I'd be able to take off my mask.
Do you I can leave, like,
Just kidding.
okay.
The random chatter will slowly dissipate as Mallory disappears. I don't know. So this sample hasn't seemed to be producing a lot of the monster that we're looking for. I'm getting a bunch of Ellerbeckia, which is a good sign because it's big and heavy and sank to the bottom, which is where I was hoping the big monstrous Gomphomonster would be. But I don't think that we're seeing it. Seeing a big Gomphomonster, and that's it. I double-checked the image that Anna was sending, and it definitely wasn't Gomphomonster that we were looking at with her. So slide number 1 has not, or stub number 1 has not produced any monster. Let's move over one stub and see what happens. Next stub. Here's a big one. Again on its side. And this one has a bunch of little diatoms attached to it, and the apical pore field hasn't been degraded. This is kind of cool. So you have this really big Gomphomonster. Again, that's a Gomphomonster, not a Gomphomonema, and I can tell that because if I look closely at the pore structure, there's 2 rows of dots and then a solid line, 2 rows of dots and then a solid line. And then these things that are attached to the outside of them, which I believe is a planethidium, but I think they're actually attached in their life position. So like, while this thing was living, these guys were basically living on top of it, which is kind of cool. So they attach themselves to the big diatom, this monster diatom, and then, you know, hitchhike, basically. Kind of a cool structure. The reason that I think that these are not just laying on here as debris that fell on it is they appear to all be facing the exact same direction. So that doesn't seem like something that would happen randomly. And also they're attached to it, or they're laying on it with their raphy side down. And the raphe is the way that they attach to things. So you can see all of these are the araphid valve for a monoraphid diatom, and all of them are face down. They don't have a raphe showing, they just have the araphid side. That would be a pretty strange coincidence that they would just land like this, on the stub, and all land on top of this thing and none of them out here, and then also all of them facing the same direction, right? So we can just use a little bit of deduction and actually tell that that's probably not just stuff that fell on there, which is something that could happen. You could get stuff land on top of another valve when it's settling out, but I think it's much more likely that these were actually in their life position. There's probably a little bit of biological material that's still basically connecting those valves together. It didn't get cleaned when the sample was cleaned or processed, and so they're staying attached even though it's just the skeletons of one and the skeletons of the other. I'm going to...
Let's see, Pacific Plankton said, what were they again?
The big one is Gomphomonster, which I typed in the chat earlier, and the little ones are Planothidium, Planothidium, which is a type of diatom which has this Hufeisen structure, a little horseshoe shape that you can see on the outside of these, or you will when the beam starts to clarify the image. So there's a gap in the striae, and it creates a sort of like a horseshoe shape. And if we were to actually see one in the inside of the valve, we'd see that it's sort of like a little cavity that's formed there as well. So it would, in the light microscope, they look like there's a little horseshoe right here. And they got the name Hufeisen, which is German for horseshoe shape or something.
Von Ben says, well, it was nice to meet you, Professor. See you next time.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. It's been a fun afternoon of looking at random things and then looking at some diatoms. And probably I'm going to look around a little bit more for our mystery diatom. And if I don't find any, then we can call it a day. Still have a little bit of time. I think I can get away with hanging out here before I go home and try to manage getting my classes ready for next week. So gotta prep a bunch of lectures between now and Tuesday. So, and I've got to send out a message about having a lab meeting.
What time is that?
It'll probably be either 10 or 11 on Monday.
Okay.
So, well, I can come back and see what the channel's saying. Yeah, you found it perfectly. So, Subsonic Flight, thank you for the follow. Mallory didn't really say any of the follows recently, so I'm just going to read those while we're doing this. We got a Subsonic Flight, thank you. Buttmancer, what a name. Neo Goo, 123. Perkin G. Micah cheered 100 bits. Nobody even noticed. Thank you for the cheer, for the bits, Micah. DM Santos 752. Rivers Vegan Taco. Incorrect target. What's the correct target? Henderson Goes. Rafiki. Hugh D. Faded Cheese. These look like people that all came along with our good friend Allison B. Wild, who rated our channel. Mr. Vitality 2 hours ago. Joke Biden early on. Dead Pixel. Herc Morningstar from the other day. Oh, the cheer was for the happy birthday. Aww. It was a happy birthday cheer.
Thank you.
The volume on our channel is muted, so we don't hear the noises and have it come into the stream. Usually it startles whoever's running the SEM and leads to some fun antics. Green Dish Towel says, I'm only taking one class at a time right now. I wish I was only teaching one class at a time right now, but it's not happening that way. So, you know, I'm trying to be a good citizen. One of the things that's kind of neat, if you look down here in the bottom part of this diatom, it's the first one we've seen with the apical pore field preserved. And when this finishes scanning, which will be in a second, I'm going to zoom in on the apical pore field. And so you can just sort of see the structural differences between them. We have these little biseriate striae associated with the main striae on this Gomphomonster. And if I zoom in down here at the base of it, you can actually see what we call the apical pore field. So I'll try to get that perfectly in focus for you. A bunch of little tiny holes, and then I'm going to drop the speed setting so you can actually see it. These are the striae. You can see this biseriate nature, so 2 rows of 2 at a time. And then there's a piece of thickened silica on the valve. And then you can see there's these little holes that are all separate. And these pores are different sizes and also shaped differently and positioned differently than the striae. They're a separate field of little tiny holes called an apical pore field. And the apical word just means they're at the apex. And a pore field just means it's like a whole bunch of little pores, right? So why these are valuable for diatom is that they usually exude out some EPS, some extracellular polymer material, and then they squeeze it out those holes, and they use it to create long stalks to attach to rocks and plants and other things. So this is how the diatom usually is attached to whatever it's going to be attached to.
And then Mr. Vitale said, "Thank you very much. It was brilliant."
Oh, yeah, no problem. So let's see. I'm going to put the beam intensity back to 10 so we can zoom around and still see things clearly. And I'm going to start looking for something else that's like this, but only a single row of striae rather than multiple rows in the same. So the nice part about looking for really big things in the scanning electron microscope is we can stay kind of zoomed out, see the whole landscape at once, and then if we find something, zoom back in and zoom in very close in many cases. But it's kind of challenging to get big things in the scanning electron microscope like this, because usually the larger something is, if it's a diatom, the less frequently it occurs in the sample. So that creates a separate problem. Ooh, here's something. It is about the right size, but again, when we zoom in and look at this is the valve face. This is actually a Gomphomonster, not a Gomphomonema. And I know that because, again, it's a biseriate striae. And this one actually has 2 little holes. So those are stigma. That's what those little holes are called. Stigma, or stigmoid, some people will call them. And these little holes are kind of C-shaped. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I'll zoom in so you can. So the areolae, which are the holes that we're looking at, actually have like a crescent shape to them.
Then Neo Goo is joining our Discord.
Oh, excellent. The Discord is a nice way if you have questions that I didn't get answered, or if you just want to hang out and interact with the community. I oftentimes will post pictures to my Instagram that when I colorize them, but I also will post ones in the Discord that you could easily access if you wanted to turn them into like a desktop screensaver or desktop image or something for your phone. I don't mind just sharing those with people to have access to them. So I'm going to
Mika
tweak.
gave you a compliment.
What did he say?
He said, "Dr. Stone always provides a good show."
I try. I'm just trying to tighten up this image a little bit. I get really fussy about image quality when it's diatoms versus something sort of bigger. Just trying to get that a little bit cleaner.
gonna head out.
You are?
Yep, got a date.
Oh, you've got a date too?
I got a.
It's not with a 6-year-old, is it?
It's an actual date.
You have an actual date.
Actual.
An actual date.
It's gonna be fun.
Well, I hope so. This is the guy who got you coal for Christmas?
It is.
I'm just checking.
Okay. I'll see you Sunday.
Okay, have fun. Let's try this. And with Ali gone, I can take my mask off. And now I don't have to talk through a mask anymore. Sorry. So that's nice. Always just want to be safe. And hopefully everybody out there is staying safe from coronavirus. And I'm going to get a nice clean shot of this Gomphomonster on the valve face. We've seen a bunch of it in girdle views, so this will be a nice adjustment for that. So you can kind of get a good idea of the three-dimensional nature of the diatom. You know, we've been looking at it sort of in the side view over here, focused on this part of it. And now we'll be focusing on the valve face, so we can actually see some of the structure and the raphe, which is the central, on this diatom, it's this sort of slit that runs down the center of the valve and has two branches. And then we also can see that it has two stigma as well. So that image is coming up. I'm just going to go ahead and snap it. I think everything's, oh, beam intensity is still too high. Let's see if I can fix that a little bit better. And then I will jump back into chat. And I've got about 10 minutes on this photo. I'm just going to get a really nice high resolution image of it, and I can chat with people while we're at it. They grow so fast. Scratch the beard, yeah. Ah, feels good. I feel like I have mold growing in it. It does feel nice freeing my beard. So a lot of microstructures around the holes, the little cracks. Yeah, so green dish towel, those are actually, there's a little bit of dissolution on the valves, as I mentioned before. And so those sort of little dendroid shapes that you're seeing are probably actually not real structure, but a break in the structure as the silica. A lot of times what happens when diatoms start to dissolve is that the silica in the valve kind of turns into almost like a gel. You know, that's what happens when you have pHs that are a little bit higher than usually 9, where diatoms will start to dissolve a little bit, where this biogenic silica starts to gelify. And when that happens, basically, I think you're just seeing like the little cracks form as a result of, you know, like mud cracks, but not quite, right? Similar concept. So, oh, we had a new follow while I was busy chatting. It's XCOMP. Thank you for the follow. Jellification. Yeah, I don't know what the, there's probably a technical term for it. You know, I study diatoms, and I use an SEM, but it doesn't mean I know everything about everything related to diatoms. I mostly use them for paleoecological purposes. So the like physiological components, people ask me like, okay, what is the stigma? What does it do? I don't know. I don't know that anybody knows the answer to some of those questions. It's hard to tell what diatoms are doing because they're so small. We can't observe a lot of it during its living state. So it's, you know, it's challenging to know what are the purposes of some things. So we can make some sort of educated guesses, but it's not clear. And I don't think it's like we see a stigma on some Gomphomonster and some Gomphomonester and some don't, but we don't actually know like Is there a difference between the lifestyles, or is there something that, you know, some purpose that they have associated with it? It's sometimes just like really challenging for us to have a handle on. And in many cases, we don't even know, like I can't tell you off the top of my head which Gomphomonster this is. It looks like it belongs with the Herculeana, like Gomphomonster Herculeana group, but I bet if I go look at the Herculeana in SEM, that it looks different than this. So this is one of the issues with diatoms, is that our understanding of them at the species level is actually pretty poor. So J Edition, thank you for the follow. Are you aware of Into the Microcosmos on YouTube? They do a bunch of really cool microscope stuff. I don't watch YouTube, but I have heard of Into the Microcosmos, and people bring it up occasionally to me. I sometimes will put stuff on a light microscope. It's their secret intergalactic travel button. Well, this one's got two. So what's the second button do? So I haven't really watched it very much, but I'm aware of it. And I should point out, I'm probably going to do, so these streams end up being archived on YouTube, but I'm working on a new project that might more specifically have live stuff on YouTube as well, but I can't reveal it yet. It's a bit of a secret, but it's coming up. So sometime in this spring, I should have something kind of cool on YouTube coming up, educational stuff. That's all I can reveal about that right now. So, but sometimes I do a little live stream on the microscope. Instead of using the scanning electron microscope, we'll use the light microscope. And also, if you're interested in other microscope streamers on Twitch that use light microscopes, I can hit the squad button here, and you can see some people. I should point out that I put Frecked Chemist in this list because she's been doing a bunch of microscope stuff recently, and then she changed her name to Freckled Scientist. So I don't know if that link even leads to her anymore. Let's see, does it? Or does it go nowhere? Yeah, she messed up my link. So like one day in, she changed her name to, was it Freckled Science? I thought it was Freckled Scientist. Well, okay. But I still need to fix that link, so don't click on that one. But Tiny World also hasn't been on Twitch for quite a while now, so she's been doing podcast stuff and trying to get a job. But if you really want to see some cool live microscope stuff, you should check out Pacific Plankton. She does a great job, and she's building some of her own lab equipment. Yeah, I check in with Amanda regularly during her streams. Sometimes she's got diatoms on there. But if you want to check out some really cool live microscope stuff, you should check out Pacific Plankton's work. So she's on Mondays and Thursday nights, usually around midnight Eastern time. And she does a great job with looking at some diatoms and other plankton, live organisms in materials from San Francisco Bay that she collects. And also you should check out another one of my favorites, Del Maximum, who usually starts off his streams with a little bit of microscope time before then playing some games. So both of those guys got great stuff. Open Set was on last night. I saw he popped on. He sometimes has stuff on his microscope as well, and he plays music at the same time, and he's got little cat slideshows going on at the same time. And it was like right as I was going to bed. But turns out you've been following Pacific Plankton since July of 2020. That's basically when I started following Pacific Plankton. So good stream. Oh my gosh, we're getting another raid. It's Irv Spanish raiding with a party of 7. Thank you, Irv, for the raid. We are in the process of imaging a Gomphomonster, which is a type of diatom. Diatoms are a type of algae that, in this case, these were collected, I think, from a stream. This is the diatom here, Gomphomonster, that we're looking at in a scanning electron microscope. This is the only place on Twitch where you can see somebody use a scanning electron microscope twice a week when I'm capable of streaming twice a week. This has been the first time I've streamed since last Saturday, I think, because I've had classes I've been trying to prepare for. But welcome in, and it's nice to see you here. Thank you for the raid. I don't only look at diatoms. Actually, the first part of our stream, we were looking at random things that my undergrad students wanted to look at on a scanning electron microscope. So, I sometimes just put them at the helm and let them do whatever they want and chat about whatever they like. And then I had some things I really wanted to go looking for in my samples. So we're looking for this monstrous Gomphomonster from Idaho. The sample's from Idaho. It's not the diatom that I've found here. This is a Gomphomonster, but it's similar shape to this one. We're just trying to find it, hidden amongst the things. So welcome. Science streams with the. How are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. I think I've caught a couple of your streams recently. Herb Spanish, thank you for the follow. Yeah, she rebranded her name again, I guess, because she wanted to be Freckled Chemist, but she misspelled it or something. That's what she told me. So I don't know what to tell you. Yep, that's fine. I know how you feel. You get to the end of the stream, you just want to go eat food and relax. So you do that, Irv. No big deal. Thank you for bringing your followers in. Hopefully they will enjoy my scanning electron microscope time for a little while, and then I'm probably going to go raid somebody as well because I still haven't eaten lunch. Valve. Face. And then maybe later tonight I'm going to dig around in my books and online resources and see if I can figure out what this, what the heck that diatom is. It's Gomphomonster something. I just don't know which species. I think it's related to Herculeana, though. Oh, here's another valve view of it. Just need to make sure it's a Gomphomonster and not a Gomphomonema. That one is still a Gomphomonster. See, this is the two stigma, and we can see that it's got the double punctate. It's the same one that we've been looking at. It's probably the old man version of it. When diatoms get older, they get they split and split and split asexually, and then they get smaller in the process. So the really old ones are kind of tiny little guys, and when they're a baby, they're quite large. It's like the reverse of everything else in nature, really. They grow smaller. They don't really grow smaller. They replicate, and as a result, get smaller. Here's something that's asymmetric. Oh, nope, it's just a dissolved Nitzia. I don't know what this thing is, though. Oh, it's a little dissolved diatom. I don't know what kind. Too much of it's been destroyed. See, there's some plant material that we just sort of zoomed past without making any comment on. Probably the sample could be processed a bit more. This is Brachysphenia. You can see it's very distinctly curved shape. Oh, we saw this one, right? This is that same one we saw before. We come back through the middle. And that's because I forgot to change the rotation back to 0. Let's see. Let's zoom back out. And let's see, I want to probably jump this way a little bit. I was trying to be systematic, but I just ruined my system by leaving the stage tilted the wrong way. I'll give me a chance to go looking a little bit more for these big Gomphonemas, and then I can start another picture once we find something cool. If we find something cool. And I can come back and see what's going on with chat. sort of the structure that we have to have whenever all my helpers leave, or when they don't show up, or when they're on vacation or whatever, which is that I kind of need to spend all of my focus getting the scanning electron microscope into the right place, and then I get to bounce over and see what happened in chat, and it means that I need to rely on my wonderful helper that are here as moderators, like Pacific Plankton. Hey, there's a Ellerbeckia and the valve face view on the outside. This one's got ripped away from its siblings, and you can actually see the poker chip margin on it. That's why I call it like a poker chip. It looks a lot like a poker chip right there. So you can see the valve face is actually kind of got crazy little grooves on the surface, and these grooves join together on this valve face with the opposite valve face, and they link right at the edge here with a set of spines, which look like, so that was the valve face, and when we get two valve faces together, it looks like this. You can see the sort of linked system of spines and grooves that they fit in. It's a pretty cool little image, and I'm just gonna, a happy little diatom image. Just gonna reposition it a little bit, and then I'm gonna get hopefully a nice clear photograph. First I want to zoom in, get the focus the way that I'd like so that everything is in focus, and then zoom back out. This is going to have some parts of it that are going to be out of focus by nature, because our depth of field for this particular image is really only about 9 microns, almost 10 microns, and the distance across the valve face is probably closer to like 20 microns, which means the stuff back here is out of focus, unless I sort of focused it here, and then the thing is that these wouldn't be quite in focus. So I'm just going to leave it artsy. I'm going to fix my beam intensity, and I think probably it looks good. Snap it and wait. So I just have it as a little 3-minute photo. And I'm back. Okay. Tropical Geek typed the squad thing in. Laxmere asked the question, where do I teach? I am a professor at Indiana State University, which is in Terre Haute, Indiana. And I teach in the Earth and Environmental Systems Department. And I am an associate professor, but I am currently under review for going up to full professor. And outlook is pretty good that I will get full professor as well. So, Cinnamon says, too bad I still couldn't catch any of Pacific Plankton's live streams. Yeah, you should definitely try to catch them. She's a really nice stream to listen to and also to watch. So, 4 rebrandings, okay. Tropical Geek says, I'm about to have breakfast. It's 3 in the afternoon. It must be like 2 in the afternoon for you, right? You're only like an hour away from me. Yeah. She's doing sub-only video on demands. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, scrolling down will help. There's a lot of information down there if you're on a computer and you can scroll down, there's a lot of sort of about information if you're interested in it down there, right? The time zones problem, yeah. Neo Goo 123 says, have I found any mites or anything like that? We actually did a whole stream where we tried to find the mites that live in eyelashes and eyebrows. We did like plucked our eyebrows and eyelashes, and actually we went around to the department and had some professors donate eyebrow hair, and we tried to find those Demodex type mites, and no luck. So none of us are infected. It's supposed to be like the older you get, the more likely you are to be infected by Demodex mites, but it could just be that like there's not as much of it as people think. I do sometimes find mites in soils and in lichens and in sediments, and sometimes in my light microscope streams we see mites, like living mites, aquatic mites for the most part, or ones that are like semi-aquatic or subaquatic, in those settings, and all kinds of like insect or rotifer or other type things. But I haven't actually had any on the SEM from my selection of materials. But I would say that there's another professor that's here in our department who studies tree rings and soils, and they have actually a whole bunch of over here to the left of me, there's a whole array of scanning electron microscope stubs with soil mites on them that they've analyzed, and I've got tons of pictures of them, and so there are also a bunch of those images in the Instagram account as well. So, all right, this is Ellerbeckia, I think Canariensis is the species, but I'm not positive. I guess I'll have to look at that. Ellerbeckia, valve face showing, and these are really cool giant diatoms that usually grow on the like wet cave walls or the sides of buildings or on rocks on the sides of lakes, and or waterfalls, that sort of thing. They're really common in those kinds of environments, and if you have like a building that's near you that has a downspout where it doesn't quite, so here's some more of them here and here, that doesn't quite connect perfectly, and it leaves like a running trail of water down the side of the building when it rains. They usually are a component of those, so you could actually go into the side of the building, scrape a little bit of that, usually it's sort of like black crusty junk off of there, and you would find some of those diatoms living or dead on that material. So they really like the sort of wet walls or wet cave walls. They still need light, but they get their nutrients mostly from surrounding environments, I think. So this is not the diatom that I want. It's a little tiny guy. That's a pretty interesting looking diatom though. Slightly dissolved. You can actually see the two valves very easily here. So the back valve and the top valve are easily distinguished. And here's the raphe. It curls at the very end, and it starts here and curls. I think it curls the opposite direction. I think it curls this way on this end. I think this is a Solophora. It has these sort of silica hyaline valve ends to it and a little bow tie in the middle. So I would guess it's probably a Solophora, but I'm not actually familiar with the diatom flora from Idaho, from modern systems in Idaho, so I'd have to do a little bit of scouting to tell you for sure what I thought that was. These aren't my samples. They're samples that my friend Anna Nastrovich sent to me, and she's another diatomist. She works for a company, and she studies a lot of different things than what the company actually has her do, but there's some really cool like plant material here, and there's diatoms growing on it. Right here you can see a little cockanice valve, and I think that's what most of these are, growing along the stems. That's a common pattern that we see associated with the diatom genus cockanice. And this is another one of these Ellerbeckia strands, a colony of Ellerbeckia. Sort of curious what that big thing was when we passed by it the first time. I figured I'd come back and see it. But here's a cockanice that's been separated from the Ellerbeckia, or from the plant material. And this one is actually the araphid valve. So I can tell that because it doesn't have a line running down the middle of the valve with little curly ends on it. But if we were to flip it over, if we had the whole valve and we saw the other side as well, it would. So these ones are what we call monoraphid. They have a raphe on one side and no raphe on the other. This diatom is Cockanice pediculus, I believe. It's definitely a Cockanice. pediculus is a question mark, but I think it's either lineata or pediculus. And I have one more stub I can jump over to, and our chances of finding a monstrous Gomphomonema do not seem very good, because I have not found any in any of these samples. All I've seen is a bunch of Ellerbeckia. Here's the inside of an Ellerbeckia. That's the inside. You can tell because it's cup-shaped rather than being like bowed outward like the one we were seeing before. And Ellerbeckia all over the place. As far as the big things that we can see, that's most of them. That's junk. Cockanies. A lot of the diatoms that we... Cockanies. A lot of diatoms we're seeing are very similar from one sample to the next, and it's because it's the same material. In fact, they came from the same pipette, even. That is a diatom of the genus Gomphomonema, I believe, but it's really not large enough to be our monster. So, right thing, it's either Gomphonese or Gomphomonema. I can't tell from that view easily. I guess I could go back and look at it. But this is the one I wanted to see, because that's the right size and shape. And again, I'm not having much look trying to figure out what the striae are doing on these. That's actually two diatoms. That's two valves, that are two frustules that are hooked together, and that is a Gomphonese, not a Gomphomonema. So here's one valve, one frustule, and here's the other frustule. And this is the way they usually live, sort of face to face in fan-shaped colonies. So this is almost in its life position. It would then have to be attached by the foot pole, which would be down here at the base of the fan typically, for it to be truly in life position. But basically you got to see the whole assembly of how they live, which is kind of neat. I know it's been a while since I've been back to see what chat's doing. Hopefully you're not asking me a ton of questions I can't answer yet. Oh, here's some more. These ones are again in life-like position, with their fan-shaped colony. And again, that's Gomphomonese. You can see two striae, like double striae, with a silica spacer between double striae, spacer, double striae. So those are both Gomphomonese. Obviously, they attached together at the base here at the foot pole, but then they would create this sort of fan-like structure. I guess I could probably get a picture of that, and then I can come back and see what chat's up to. It's a piece of a Cockanies. That is a Nitzia. One of the things is when you get to the point where you know diatoms well, you don't even need to see whole pieces of them. You can just tell from a bit of it what it is. Especially if your primary focus is fossils like mine. Rarely are they in whole form. Hey, we had some new follows while I wasn't looking. Mike Ozama and Grizz Toff and Larry Potato 1. So I want to say thank you to you guys for your follows. I appreciate that. It looks like a white Tootsie Roll. That's actually probably... I like to call them a cookie stack. But, you know, if you want to call it a Tootsie Roll, that's fine. They're kind of crinoid-like. That's a astute observation. Green dish towel. You have some sort of a fossil background. Yeah, hopefully I won't have any trouble getting into full professorship. It'll be a little bit of a raise for me. Oh, there was a bunch of comments. Neo Geo says, I'm getting ready to head off. Thank you for the neat pictures and interesting info. Thank you for hanging out with us. Where'd you get the sample from? I think it's a sample that they had from work that they were going to dispose of because they had already analyzed it. So she just sent it to me. Tropical Geek is singing for us. What is a Gomphomonster? It's a monstrous gomphomonema, G-Force. It's the idea that we have a gomphomonema that's a type of diatom, and it's super large, so I just called it the Gomphomonster. Right. Oh, we're having a revolution? Oh. What are we storming? Thank you for keeping everybody on point over there, Pacific, with the links and stuff. That's nice. It's 4 o'clock. Been streaming for like 3 hours. But Ellie did a lot of the early streams, so I feel like I could still hang out for a little while longer. Also, I'm not finished looking through my sample yet, so it's important that that I spend a little bit more time and see if we can find this thing. If I never find it, then I can go back and tell Anna, I don't think this is the right sample, or I don't think this sample has any of it. We've looked through a bunch of light microscope slides as well before we started, and we were unable to find anything other than a giant gomphomonema. I suspect either it's so rare in the sample that we aren't seeing any, or that it's not actually the sample she collected hers from, that or maybe, you know, it's there but it's like really super rare. So this is Gomphomonster pair, and I'll zoom back out. Speed 4. What is this? Oh, look at that huge cookie stack right there. A big cookie stack. There's a piece of an Ellerbeckia right here where we can see the valve, internal valve structure. 'Cause again, it's cupped inward, right? So here's the poker chip-like margin, and then here's some little bumps on here, which I think are probably Rhemoportula, but I'm going to have to zoom in and see if we can see. So if they're Rhemoportula, which is what I suspect they are, oy, it's so bright. Yeah, they're these things right here. They're basically little mouth or lip-shaped pores on the valve. So I don't think that I don't think we'll be able to get a good image of them the way they're facing right there. And also that specimen is super bright. So there's a Cockneys. So the little arc that you're seeing off to the left side of the screen right here is actually the edge of the stub. It's the end of our sample, and the stubs that these are on are just little pieces of aluminum. They're little tiny cylinders of aluminum that I was sort of showing earlier, some stubs that we had the samples mounted on. But I think somewhere in here I set up a button to do stuff. For some reason the button that, there it is, switches the camera. I always forget to push it. Right, there it is. Let's see, we'll go back to the middle of this stub, and then I'll go the other direction and see if we can find it. So I'm trying to be systematic, just in case. Some more Ellerbeckia. It's a Ellerbeckia with some diatoms stuck on the outside of it too. That's some cockneys that's stuck on the outside of it, and they look like, again, they're in life position because we got the aeraphid valve pointed towards us on several of them. And there's another one down there with a epiphytic diatom, a diatom that's growing on the outside edge of it. There's some also really interesting smaller guys in here. These are the Nitzias. I think that's actually a denticula, but Nitzia-like diatoms. There's another one up here. The cockneys. And the Rheucosphenia right here. These little curve-shaped Gomphomonster-like diatoms. One of the things that I could do very easily by just looking at the sample is sort of figure out what kind of environment it is, and that's what I do. That's my actual scientific primary sort of skill set, is looking at diatoms and trying to figure out like what kind of environment would this be. And because it's dominated by benthic diatoms, so things that live attached, like cockneys, Ellerbeckia, Gomphomonster, Gomphonese, and those denticulas and naviculas and Nitzias. Those are all benthic diatoms, and it tells us that it is relatively shallow water. So we're not talking about something super deep, and the presence of cockneys in our sample suggests that there's plants, which also means it's probably pretty shallow. The presence of Rheucosphenia, which is the diatom that's curved. We'll find another one and then I'll stop and take a picture of them. Rheucosphenia are actually what we call rheophilic diatoms, which means they like flowing water. And so when you see them, it usually is indicative of a stream or at least wave energy. And you can sort of see from just knowing a little bit about the ecology of the diatoms, I can piece together what kind of environment they probably were living in, even though I was never at the site. Here's a Rheucosphenia. See how it's curved? So it just has a really sort of gentle curve on the valve face, and then the backside is also curved. And then otherwise it looks kind of like our Gomphonese or Gomphomonster, with the one end being a little bit bigger, one end being a little skinnier, and much similar to it. If I were to zoom in on the bottom end of it down here and could get it in focus, you would see that it also has an apical pore field, right? So here's the striae, here's the apical pore field, where it would squeeze out some material and it would use that to attach the same way as Gomphomonster do. So really similar in terms of the structure to Gomphomonster and Gomphonese, but none of those have this sort of arc shape to them or curved shape to them. And again, this one is a specialist that typically lives in flowing water condition. And there's only about, I don't know, a dozen or something Rheucosphenia species that I know of. Maybe there's more. So, and I think all of them like flowing water conditions or moving water conditions. So, just the presence and relative high abundance of these in the sample suggests to me, without anything else, that it's probably a stream sample, which of course we know it is, or it probably is. So I'll snap a real quick picture of that. That's kind of the sort of things that we do. We take a look at stuff and then look at the skeletons, and from that I can infer basically what the environment is. Come for the antics. It's like a Bigfoot. That's what we're looking for, exactly. We're crypto species of diatom. We don't even know what species it is, because it probably is a new one, the Gomphomonster. But it doesn't seem like we're finding it. So you've been cooking and getting ready for birthday celebration all day. Happy birthday to Pacific Plankton's son. Fossil Rocks says, hi Diatom, super cool pic. Thank you, Fossil Rocks. It's nice to see you here. We're on our scanning electron microscope. We're looking at some diatoms from Idaho, and from a stream sample, I believe. What month is 9 months ago? It's a good question. Let's see. People get frisky in the spring. Thank you for saying this is incredible. It's a weekly or sometimes twice a weekly event that occurs here where we look at stuff in the scanning electron microscope. Sometimes I manage to have a little bit of personal time that I can use for the light microscope and stream from home. And occasionally my daughter plays video games and I make fun of things that she sees in them, but we haven't done those in a while, actually. It's probably not a hot springs green dish towel. It's hard to tell for sure, but I didn't really see anything that suggests to me that it was like strongly, I guess it is sort of alkaline. It's a little dissolved, but I think it's more likely it's just a river. Okay, foot pull, yeah, foot pull. Let's squeeze out the stuff, right. Flippity Flagrant says, are all diatoms marine animals? Diatoms are not animals, they're algae, and they live in all kinds of aquatic environments. Some are marine, some are freshwater, some live in, the little bits of soil that get wet at the top, the edaphic ones. Some of them live in little cracks between sidewalks or like dirt in your yard. Some of them live like any kind of environment that has some water in it and a little bit of nutrients is likely to grow diatoms. So they definitely live in fresh water. Fossil Rock says, can you correlate decreased abundance with higher pollutant levels? Typically for diatoms, it's the opposite. We see more diatoms with more pollutants if they are pollutants in the form of nitrogen or phosphorus. So like agricultural pollutants. But you usually see lower diversity. So higher abundance, lower diversity means things are going well for a sort of select group of organisms. But if you're talking about like human pollutants, like we dump chemicals into places we shouldn't be dumping chemicals. Similarly, usually you get a different group of diatoms that are tolerant for pollutants. Some of them might actually do better than under those conditions. But more typically when diatoms are exposed to like heavy metals, which are usually sort of like things that are incorporated into that kind of setting, they get deformities. So they might grow and be abundant and seem like they're doing fine, but then basically they have a hard time putting their valve together correctly. So eventually it probably leads to them not doing well in that environment, or potentially could lead to some evolution, I suppose, with diatoms. You never know. Here's a big Rheucosphenia. We were looking at a little tiny one. And here's one I think we're looking at the inside of. Yeah, that's an inside view of Rheucosphenia. It's got a huge septa. So let me zoom back out for a second. It's the inside view. So we're looking at the lip right here, or what's called a septa, that separates the, like the inside of the valve ends from each other a little bit. That's what the word septa is, separating. And then you can see that the inside of the raphes have these like shepherd's crook sort of shapes, like they actually even bow upward like a shepherd's crook and then back in. That's a fracture. That's the raphe right there, right? So, and that's Rheucosphenia. I can tell that that is the raphid valve of a Rheucosphenia from the size and the size of the septa. That's a really common giant septa for Rheucosphenia. It's not something that we'd usually find in Gomphomonista. Have them, but they're usually a lot smaller. So you can see here's Rheucosphenia, an old version, an old man with the inside view, and there's a nice big baby right there, right? Probably if those are the same species, this is the young version, that's the old version of the same species, where they've replicated a bunch. So as they replicate, they tend to get smaller. And that's because they form one valve inside of another valve. And then they split apart. So it's like back-to-back valves form inside of a valve, and then the two valves will split apart, and the outside one of one will become the part of the other valve then. And if you wanted to see some of that, sometimes Pacific Plankton actually has diatoms in the process of dividing on her streams. So you can go there and check out her live action streams.
of microscopic stuff. And you might even see diatoms getting ready to split or in the process of splitting. I think she was threatening the other night to actually try to put one on the microscope and film it and try to see if she can see it all the way through the splitting process, but it would have to happen probably off screen. Well, it seems like our search for Bigfoot is not ending the way I was hoping. We've only got about half of the stub left, and have not seen any giant Gomphomonster. We've seen plenty of giant Gomphonese. Always the same species, I believe, with the 2 stigma and the double puncti. The one that we were looking at that's a Gomphomonster actually only has 1 stigmoid, if you like. And it would only have single puncti on each striae. Not sure what that is. We're just going to ignore it when I don't know what it is. Something else I don't know what it is. Not a diatom. So there's a lot of like mud, debris, plant material. Maybe some of that's like charcoal in this stuff that we're looking at, the sample. I feel like our quest for the giant Gomphomonster is about to come to an end with an unresolved non-solution. It's not present in any of these samples. It's probably not present in the actual sample. So either she sent me a sample where it wasn't in it, which is possible, or it's just so rare that we don't see it, because I didn't find it at all. And we went through 3 stubs, and all we got were this guy, a giant Gomphomonster. So I think it's still a charming little man, a little handsome Gomphomonster. Gomphonese, I mean, but not what we were looking for. This is not the diatom we were looking for. I'm going to just pop around, try to find something fun to get one more photo of. Maybe an inside view of an Ellerbeckia would be nice. Here you can actually see the surface of one and the inside of the other, but again, it's super bright in here. So I'm not sure I love that image. I could image Nitzia, but nobody likes them. Nobody wants to see that. Do they? Let's see what else we could find. And I think that will be it for today, unless something exciting has happened while I was talking to myself and looking around in the slides. Yup, not finding anything good. Just a simple little Cockanice and some Nitzias over here. I suppose because we've been focused on all the big diatoms, I've sort of ignored some of these little guys, but that's what you get when you're little. You get ignored. That's how diatoms got in this position in the first place. They're little. I don't know what that is. So, I don't know. It's a mystery that will remain a mystery, it appears. At least for a little while longer. Still Gomphomonster. Still doubly punctate. Yeah. It's like I've taken all of the good stuff already in the sample. And now there's nothing left that's good. Nothing new. And we're ready to move on. Oh, you can really see this sort of cool hexagonal structure of the Ellerbeckia right there. It's kind of hard to get into that field of view, but here's the poker ridge, the sort of poker chip shapes that you can see on the edge, the very edge of the Ellerbeckia. Also visible down here. This one's got a hole. Somebody poked a hole in it. Well, on the bright side, when we don't solve a mystery, it just means we get more mystery. So, while we didn't find the monster we were looking for, we did see a monster, just the wrong one. We got some pretty cool diatoms, I think. We still saw some really nice stuff today. Got some cool images that Ellie and Mallory helped us collect. And also a grad student, Addie, who was helping them find some materials, looking around campus and whatever else yesterday and the day before. And maybe we'll just stop on this Ellerbeckia with some cockneys stuck on it, since we didn't really get any cockneys images. I'll zoom in real close at the edge of it here, get it in focus, and then I'm going to zoom out somewhere like this, change the speed, fix the auto brightness, and then we'll look for someone to raid and we'll call it a day. So it's been a long time streaming, and I know we didn't get to do a whole lot of streaming during the week because of classes, and it seems like that's likely to happen again this coming Wednesday, but we'll see. So I may be on Wednesday, I may not. I do want to point out that in a little more than a week, I'm going to try to have an interview with one of my science buddies, Dr. Rachel Lupian, and we'll do start an evening stream interview where we discuss one of her papers, and I'm going to post some information about that interview coming up, and also a link to the paper itself in the Discord and wherever else that you would be able to have access to it. So if you wanted to read it in advance, one of the things is we're going to try to make science a little bit more accessible to people, and especially the science of paleolimnology, but by basically having the actual scientist here where we can talk about the things in the paper and what they actually mean. So if you're curious about it and you want to learn a little bit more, she studies leaf wax and uses it to basically reconstruct past environments. And I think she would be delighted to have conversations with people in the chat, and also give you a chance to actually interact with some other scientists besides just me directly, and ask questions, and if you're interested in that sort of thing, see some of the research and how it's done. Get a little bit of an idea of what science is. Actual scientists and science is really like. So, okay, I set the speed, I set the beam intensity. I'm gonna take a picture, and then I'm gonna go hop into chat for a second. It's all this stuff I didn't get around to seeing. Oh, Anarchy Kitchen came in. Hello, Anarchy. How you doing? Hopefully you've been cooking something good for us. You should check out Anarchy's stream. I don't know if you gave him a shout out or not. You need to have lunch before it's dinner time. I know. I usually don't get to it. He's like kids addicted to video games. Yeah, that's true. I'm addicted to science. Oh, Little Chook is on as an option for us to raid. That's actually a good one. I love Little Chook. She's one of my favorite artists on Twitch. And she was here earlier in the stream. She likes hanging out, and she bought one of my calendars and posted a picture of it, and then tried to advertise for me a bit. So why don't we raid Little Chook? I want to say special thanks to Pacific Plankton for hanging out, and all my usual visitors and mods who are here, Eleanor and Mallory, and check them out, right? So we also got followed by Fossils Rock and Solar F while we were busy zooming around in there. Had a bunch of really cool follows and 2 big raids today, or 1 big raid and 1 little raid today, from Allison B. So special thanks to her as well. Okay, so let's see. I type a raid, and we can raid Little Chook. And you can check out some of the cool stuff she's been drawing. She's been doing a little bit of watercolor painting as well recently. So let's see. Looks like we're getting ready to raid Little Chook. So hopefully you'll join along with me in that raid. Feel free to spam your favorite emotes at her. Right. Thanks everybody. Looking forward to more bagel ASMR. Check us out on the Discord if you get a chance. If you want to hang out or see more of the images, you could also go to the Instagram page that I think has been posted in the chat a couple of times now. All right. Thanks everybody, and that's it. We'll catch you next time. Bye.